You like it when they reply. One person, they said looking for one more DPS Black Morass, and I said, "Oh, I'll go. I'm a rogue," and they said, "I'm looking for DPS."
All right. I guess we should officially start.
Yes. What number is it today?
It is 15, right?
Oh,
right?
Yes, it is. I think it's 15.
I was confident until you asked me that. Then I started second guessing myself. Welcome, guys, to Prepared episode 15, your weekly TBC breakdown. So this week we got the start of the world boss meta. Zyrene is here to tell everyone that rogues are bad as well at some point in this podcast.
We included any of the earlier stuff, I'm playing a bad class too.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It's okay.
I don't co-sign on anything Zyrene says at this point. Don't leave your angry comments at me, rogues. Yeah, we're gonna cover that.
Direct them my way.
Yeah, Zyrene's used to it. People don't dislike Zyrene anyway. Just send you. That way. But yeah, then we're gonna cover. We're gonna cover some honor grind stuff. The honor grind meta is kind of disgusting right now. Then we have the PvP tournament coming up, and there's an interesting thing I want to talk about with the OTK Cdew situation. I'm not sure how much people have heard about that, but that's a really interesting one because it applies to WoW in general as well, with OTK not re-signing Cdew. And then we're going to talk a little bit about maybe some professions. They added some jewel crafting stuff. Season 2 gear was added by mistake. That's I don't know what happened there, but that was a thing that happened. And then we have 5,000 bugs on my list involving Magtheridon double AoEs, Nightbane flying away. That was happening before already. Actually, I just forgot to mention it because we have so many bugs. And actually, I can't even go through the whole bug list right now because it's just like a bug report practically. But we have a lot of bugs to talk about as well. Then we have if we have time, we'll also cover Magtheridon speed clear from Salad Bakers. So yeah, what's up, Zyrene? It's been a week. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm recovering a little bit from the first 2 weeks. It was actually really, really sleep deprived. It was really bad because I leveled 2 characters to 70 back to back, and then they both ended up being classes that are pretty hard to make relevant. So yeah, there's that. That's so the sleep deprivation was really bad, and then the reward at the end of it was also not what I wanted. But so we go again. We go this week. We've messed up our schedule again, and we get an elemental shaman up because I know I'll enjoy that class.
Yeah, you know what? I've actually found that I kind of enjoyed the leveling experience a little bit, as long as I can take my time a little bit. I'm not super fan of rushing it so much, but from questing on my second rogue, so I have 2 rogues at 70 now, and from questing on the second rogue, it was actually enjoyable as long as I wasn't sleep deprived. The only part that sucked was the sleep deprived part. It definitely would have been nice to not have been running on low sleep for 2 weeks. But I feel everyone's suffering from that for a while. It takes a good week or 2 to really recover after an MMO launch.
I mean, the MMO launch happens, and then the MMO launch kind of lasts a week plus, and then you grind mythics or heroics.
But I saw, Zyrene, you were having some fun on world bosses. How was your world boss experience? I actually have your VOD there. I tuned into your stream for a short time to see the chaos.
It was great. It was great. I love looking around and seeing the all the people on their flying mounts. It's insane.
Yeah, so how does this work, by the way, with all the flying? It seems like just flying just kind of makes it super, super scuffed all the time. I don't know how the meta works when everyone's just flying and zooming around like this.
Oh yeah, you just wait for people to, hit the ground. So you do a lot of strategy and trying to make sure that you guys are prepped. So a lot of what we do is we have a world boss Discord. We've had it on Fairlina since the Horde have outnumbered us, and they've actually outnumbered us again. It went to Alliance favor around Nax or last year in March, I think. Yeah, it was last year in March. So it was right before AQ came out. It started going our way, and now it's back to being Horde dominated. So the coalition is really important, and we have over like 5 guilds in there. There's like 200 plus people who are all showing up to these, and we just do like a round robin loot system for like, you know, which guild has priority. It's like, oh, Rain has prio. Do you want to use your prio on any of the items that dropped? You say no, it passes to the next people. If you use your prio, you go to the bottom of the list. So if you're saving your prio for something and it doesn't drop for a while, you might get skipped over a bunch of times because you just pass on stuff. But if you use your prio, you go to the bottom. So it's in your best interest to show up to world bosses and like help kill it, because if the horde get it, then nobody can cycle prio and get behind you, right? So like the more of something you see drop, the closer you get to getting it, right? Because people will use their prio on stuff. So yeah, it's a big like kind of convoluted system, but it does work, and it's really helpful for downing these things. So we have a lot of like good players who understand strategy and leadership in there, and they'll call for like dropping, they'll call for buffing, and getting to a point they'll mark themselves and try to figure out what went wrong in the last few pulls. So it's very different now. It's almost polar opposite of how it was before, because the calls before for world boss fighting was spread out and then go in and AoE, right? Now it's group up as tight as fucking possible. Because before it was like, don't get in a Nova, like don't get Frost Nova, use FAPs, go forward, hold your W key, trust the lag, and like don't like stop hitting arcane explosions and stuff like that. Don't stop hitting your AoEs. And if you're not like a mage, it's spread out. Make sure you're not all getting hit by like somebody rezzing and using AoE sapper or arcane explosion. Now it's the exact opposite because of AoE cap. Now it's, if you're not close, you're griefing. So everybody needs to be grouped up. So you're taking like 70 damage from Seed of Corruptions. So it's very much so like I am by myself tanking and everyone else is clumped behind the boss, not eating cleaves. And the horde will like try to disrupt me or try to like cyclone me or do whatever they want. But the entire raid is only taking like 70 damage from things. The things they really take damage from are like Kazak's clap or the earthquake. So it's very counterintuitive, and I think a lot of people are slow on this because what ended up happening is the horde, they would do Kazak, and then we would send all our warlocks in, and we would just have them Seed of Corruption off the boss. Don't Seed of Corruption like a random person because they might not take enough damage to detonate it. But every time you seed the boss will instantly take the damage to proc it, and they were spreading out. So like they didn't have like their warlocks, their mages, their hunters in melee range like we did, and so they're just taking a bunch of seed damage, and so the horde would like almost instantaneously wipe whenever we like countered. And then for us, it like took a lot of effort for them to wipe us. And ultimately we started doing things where like we were pulling out of line of sight. So in order for the horde to get to us or get to me, they had to run around a corner or LOS, and they can't hit us from like safe spots. So it was really interesting how like the strategy kept adapting and making it so that they had to come to us, because if you make it so that they have to go on they have to like run around a corner to get to me, there's going to be some like staggered people, and it's not going to be a clear call in the chaos, especially because the horde, to my knowledge, don't really have like a working coalition. So they don't have like one clear voice saying drop now. So people are going to like slowly come in, 5 will die, and then 5 will die again. And like, so they'll die to the AoE because we have people still seeding off of the boss, right? So if they get close and it's not all a unified call, they'll just die on entry. So there's a lot of things that went into it, and it's a lot of strategy. But we ultimately got all 6 of the world bosses that spawned in our...
oh, damn. You guys got all 6? I was about to ask that. How many did you guys actually get?
Yeah, we got all 6. We got 2 Kazakhs. Doomwalker spawned, got 2 Doomwalkers. While Doomwalker was spawned, we were like, okay, it's up on layer 2. It's at 40%. We need to wipe the horde. Somebody else is like, I'm looking at a 100% one right now. And we're like, oh, a 3rd layer popped. So we wiped the horde, did the 40% one. Then we did it on layer 3, killed that Doomwalker. Then we went to Kazakh, wiped the horde there, because there's more of them than there are us. So like they'll start things up usually before we get there. And then so we had like a squad that was like anybody who had the Doomwalker debuff, because the Doomwalker gives you the debuff that's like 15 minutes if you died on him. If you engage a Doomwalker, you die instantly. Yeah. Which with layers is interesting because usually that's supposed to stop you from doing multiple attempts. This stops you from doing multiple Doomwalkers. So like you kill Doomwalker and like I died. So I'm just like, guess I'm jumping on my rogue now, or if my characters have the debuff, then I go to Kazakh, right? So everybody who had the debuff from like the first 2 Doomwalkers just flew over and started wiping the horde at Kazakh. Then we went to Kazakh and picked up that one that had just spawned. So it was a few hour ordeal, but we ended up getting all 6 of them. So it was
that was the other thing I was going to ask is whether there were multiple, one on each layer. But it seems that's the way they've chosen to do it, one on every layer.
Yeah, it was that way as well in Classic. We had at one point 16 World Dragons spawn, and we were just like, I don't think we can get them all. I was like, oh god, oh man. But yeah, the coalition is also made to like the people take the coalition very seriously, because the idea is, especially at the beginning, if you can kind of pound the will out of the horde in the first few weeks, they won't try again, right? if you can utterly dominate them in the beginning, they won't try again, right? If you beat them for 3 weeks in a row for 3 or 4 spawns, they won't start showing up to this. People, because ultimately, here's the long and the short of it, is we spent like 4 hours, we got 12 pieces of loot distributed amongst guilds. The horde also spent 4 hours and they got shit. They got nothing, right? So eventually the horde are not going to spend the same amount of time going, this is a waste of time, because they don't get the world bosses. So then people will stop showing up, which makes them weaker, and then they won't like show up at all. So it's very important people show up to that at the start.
Yeah, but, I mean, it's interesting that Alliance is winning so heavily.
Plan.
It's interesting that Alliance is winning so heavily on Felina.
The horde hate each other. Like the horde legitimately hate each other, because it's very easy to grief these world bosses, right? Like Doomwalker's a little harder because he's kind of a Zugfest, but he does like the Cthulhu beam and things like that. But Kazakh, very easy to grief, and same side faction griefing is very, very real. And there's a lot of like it's like a lot of alliance guilds, we don't like each other, but we'll work together in the coalition because it helps us get loot eventually. And if we help you get loot, it helps us getting closer to it, because it's better to down these things, because we know that if we don't work together, the horde will get it, right? The horde just have way more people than us. If we don't work together, they will get it. And that's what spawned the coalition in the first place, is being outnumbered. And so when it comes to like the horde side of things, there's old VODs of like back when Azure Ghost was first spawning, the horde being like, Hoagie has the tag, don't help them, right? Or let the alliance in. Like they were like, Hoagie Haven Heroes has the tag, let the alliance in, let them go. Like the horde would not help each other when they didn't have the tag. So basically, when the horde work together, there's only 40 people who have the tag at a time, and then the other like 200 who are there are just like, nope, fuck it, we're not helping that, fuck that, like, because they want the loot. With us, 200 people have the tag in a sense, or I guess 40 people have the tag, but 200 people are helping them, right? Which is very, very different.
How many guilds do you have in the coalition?
5 to 6. We might be adding one.
So and I see Asfen here. So does that mean his guild's there as well, which is like 500 teams in itself?
Asfan?
Yeah.
Asfan's in the coalition.
So that means Crusade. Don't they have like 5 billion raid teams? I remember they have 5 billion raid teams.
Crusade has a bunch of numbers. Crusade has so many raid teams, I don't even want to take a guess because it's probably too little. So, especially at this point. So yeah, Crusade is a very, very strong like alliance force just from a numbers perspective. I remember there was talk at the very beginning of being like, should Crusade be in the coalition or not? And it was like, yeah, they bring bodies. Like you even if the good guilds are in the coalition, they bring like 12 people, right? Yeah. It's like, oh, this guild brought 12 people, but they're the best guild on the server. And then it's like Crusade showed up and brought like 50 people, so they'll just carry the whole thing. It's also interesting, like, because same side griefing, like I was saying, is like really prevalent. I think Asmongold was streaming at the same time, and at one point Asmon was like, "They have the tag, don't help them. The Alliance have the tag, don't help them," because he wasn't in like the coalition. So it's just really funny because people who like want loot won't help a tagged boss, and that's like the problem that a lot of servers and horde guilds and on a Fairlina have, is they don't help each other get loot because it doesn't help you. Whereas with us, we have a tag raid that is specifically designed, like everybody kind of submits, these are the people who are up for loot that we would use prio on. And so everybody like sends a list. So we're going to have up to 8 guilds. You submit 5 people each, and those are the people in the tag raid, right? So then that makes your 40 people, and that's your tag raid where the loot will be distributed. So there's a lot of things that like go into it. But yeah, I won't talk too much more about the coalition. I've kind of like talked so much about it at this point. But yes, world bosses are going well for us. 6 out of 6 so far.
Oh, well, my experience was looking at my loot list and then just taking out all the stuff that had world boss loot on it and changing my priors up.
Yeah, I know. I saw the Terror Weave tunic drop, and it went to a druid, and I was like, oh.
Yeah,
it's like that's sad.
That's a nice one, but yeah, I swapped out. At least rogues don't really lose too much. Like the second option isn't far behind. You just swap out a piece of tier for skulkers instead.
Yeah, that's the thing though, is you swap out a piece of tier for skulkers, so the difference isn't actually like massive, right?
Yeah,
because you want the two piece bonus still. Yeah. So yeah, the difference between the two in terms of stats is not that large. You're not missing out on too much.
Yeah, it's almost same in a lot, because Skulkers is really good. Skulkers is really good actually. So you do get to wear that. Yep. But I see you're getting a bunch of honor kills though in this video. How much honor did you get? Right? You got 1,000 honor doing it.
I got 1,000. I got 1,000.
So what you're saying is world bosses is better than doing BGs.
Yeah. Some people got 1,500 because I was dying a lot. Well, actually, I was dying first if I was dying in most cases, because tank dies and then it's just like, oh, okay. Yeah, and a lot of people got 1,000, 1,500. So it's interesting. Yes, but it's very good honor. It was surprisingly good honor.
This is a big topic for today is the whole honor thing. And like I don't know what Blizzard's going to do, or if they're going to do something about this, but they need to do. I feel they need to do something about the honor gains on Horde side, or at least make it so that, like I think you suggested, that Alliance can have Horde players on their side as well to try to get the queues a little bit better, have the mercenary system in there or something, because right now it's the barrier of entry into PvP is so absurd, compounded on the fact that like people feel salty about the people that came in with 75k honor and now they're having to do this absurd 1 hour queue grind, because it started off where I think it was people were getting, if they were in like a pre-made and doing the Eye of the Storm thing, they were getting maybe 700 on an hour or something like that, depending on how it went. But now it's even slower because they actually went back and nerfed Eye of the Storm flag honor. So for people that don't know,
which is the right play. The flag honor thing is bad, but
yeah,
I think Ben Ruki said it best, where he was like, it's like a really contrived way to get honor. And you shouldn't gain honor based on the number of caps you have. You should gain honor based on the point total in the game, because a win is a win, right? Yeah. The way in which you win shouldn't matter towards your honor. The fact you win should matter, right? That was the thing. And I like that. I like that a lot, because there were people who were losing, like you said, and just capping flags.
Yeah, I mean,
they were still getting more honor.
Screenshot last week was like 700 something honor from the game, and Alliance won like 150 honor. Because they weren't capping. But at
least they got the marks though.
Yeah, the downside of that though is that like the honor totals dropped even more. The honor gains. I was talking to someone in chat before we started the podcast, and he was saying how I farmed for 12 hours a day for 3 days, and I got 12,000 honor. So in like 36 hours of BG queuing, he got 12,000 honor, just going insanely hard. And like, I mean, the big problem I see is that if the honor gear wasn't essential stuff, it'd be okay. But there's some stuff that you really do want. Even if we get like throughout the point that for a lot of classes, the offset pieces are really nice. The purple offset pieces like belt and braces, I know, are really good for rogues. They are part of our BIS PvP set. Like just the trinkets alone is an issue. Like it costs so much to get the good trinket. It's 8,000 honor to get the 2-minute cooldown trinket, and that's basically an essential item for your arena PvP. You need a 2-minute trinket, and that's in this meta. Like, how many hours is that? Well, we're gonna tell like new people to arena, hey, if you want to actually be serious about arena, you're gonna have to do this stupid honor system for the next 24 hours in order to get the 8,000 honor to even start PvPing. Like the barrier feels really bad.
Yeah, it's a really it's a strange problem, because when I think about it, like from the standpoint of like a designer, it's one of the things that should be in place to incentivize people to go Alliance, because horde populations just skyrocketed, right? Like horde is overwhelmingly the better faction in PvE right now. Like a lot of the like kill times and a lot of that is like top DPS spots are being dominated by horde on Warcraft logs, and a lot of the top guilds have re-rolled horde, and a lot of PvPers have re-rolled horde, or a lot of PvP people have like rolled horde in general. So horde seems to have a higher population, at least from my perspective, or when I like at least look at stats or streams. And I mean, even queue times, I guess, should demonstrate that there are more horde, or at least people who are horde in PvP. And you would imagine it's one of the levers in place to incentivize people to go alliance and be like, hey, if you don't want to deal with shitty queue times, you should just go alliance. Because like I remember in pre-patch, I was telling you that playing my Blood Elf Paladin and trying to gear up after being boosted to 60 was miserable. I was like, I'm waiting 20 minutes or 17 minutes to get in a queue for a game that I don't know if I'm going to win or not. And I'm playing like, a prop pally and I have no gear. So it's like, I'm just queuing up to be cannon fodder for a little bit. And it takes me a long time to get in. And so it felt like there was a very, very distinct advantage to being alliance in the pre-patch and rolling a new character there, because it was much easier to gain honor and much easier to gear up a new character on alliance side. But the problem is people just don't work that way. You roll a faction and you just don't go, screw this faction, I'm rolling the other faction, because it's just all that sunk cost, right? You spent so much time on that character leveling it. You're not going to do that again. Like unless there was like a faction change you could purchase, or a faction change where they were like, hey, there's too many horde. If you guys want to go alliance, there's a free like transfer or something. I don't even know if people would do it then, right? Because it's the whole retail problem where I don't know if you've ever seen the screenshots of like what it's like to be an alliance mythic guild leader on retail. they said it's like this gigantic collage of whispers where it's like they're like the top alliance guild on mythics and stuff like that. And alliance do have like really good racials, but every reply is like, sorry, my friends play horde, no interest in playing alliance. Like every single reply is just like, nah, my friends play horde. It's like, no, I don't really want to play alliance. Like nobody will swap even for a top guild. So it's pretty miserable being an alliance player on retail. Whereas like here it's like you would think this would make people want to roll alliance, but it just doesn't, because people who roll horde are going to stay horde, right? So people who play alliance are usually going to stay alliance too, usually. But once you're in, you're in. And so the queue time problem, I thought would be something that would like disincentivize people from rolling horde, but it doesn't, right? Instead, they complain about it and they say like, this is not cool. And I agree, because it's not. Like having, even though it's supposed to like, maybe be an advantage for alliance to be able to have faster queues because their racials are worse, or most of their racials are worse, not all of them, but it doesn't, and it doesn't work that way. So you should just allow the mercenary contract. Like there's no way these queues are going to get any better, right? Yeah. It's always been like that, and they've only gotten worse. So I think the solution would be adding mercenary contracts, which I don't know how much that's going to take coding wise. I really don't. There might be some bug that, there's a lot of bugs.
Okay. there might be? You mean there will be?
Yeah, I just imagined people getting into a BG and then like it's like a Warsong Gulch or something, and they load in. There's alliance players in the fucking like in the starting area with them, and they can kill each other. So it's just like a slaughter right off the bat. I was like, yeah, that's probably a bug that might happen. It's like, God, yeah. The mercenary contract, I think originally, I don't quote me on this, I think there was like an incentive for like alliance players, because like what would make alliance players go, oh, I'll play on the horde side, right? It was bonus honor. I think they got bonus honor for playing for the other side originally. I think they took that out, and you can just kind of do whatever now. But I'm pretty sure they gave you like bonus honor for playing for the other side.
Have you queued at all on alliance side? Do you know what the honor gains are? I'm actually curious, because all my tunes are horde side, and I haven't queued on my one alliance guy on EU, so I don't know what the honor gains are.
If you pre-made, which like my guild Rain, they have a daily thing where people will go like, choo choo, who wants in on the rain train, and then they just go fucking Eye of the Storm 15 man. And so they pre-made everything, and they'll like actually try because they enjoy the PvP. So their honor gains are absurd. People already have like they're already like decked out, and even people who aren't like serious PvPers, they have like 4 or 5 pieces of their set, and they don't know what to do. They're just like yeah, I had honor to spend, so yeah, that's what's like on Alliance side is what do I do with all this honor, or oh I need marks for this, and then they just queue, and that's basically what it is. So
oh well, that's very stark difference from when I realized how bad the honor grind was. I looked at my new rogue and thought, oh god, I need the PvP trinket. How am I gonna get the PvP trinket? I need 8,000 honor. I don't have time for this.
Yeah, it's like very alt unfriendly for horde players, because like I have very little interest in playing my paladin and being like, well, I mean, I had little interest before, like sitting in queues, and now it's like I have no interest because that was going to be the character I PvP on, right? I was like, how am I going to PvP on this character at all and not make it my main? Like you could only really PvP on a main right now. On an alt, you're just like, it's just.
I tell you, here's my solution so far is that I'm just gonna play double DPS 2s, and I'll have my 2-minute, I'll have my 5-minute trinket, but it's not gonna matter because it's double DPS 2s, so I'm gonna win or lose in the first 30 seconds anyway. That's the plan.
Just lose right away. Risk brought up something that I actually been experiencing a little bit on Fairlina, is farming Lobies in Terakar and Nagrand is 2k honor per hour is actually an honor loss to join BGs. Yeah, the summoning stone in the middle of Terakar, in the middle of Akadun, is like a really hot spot for horde. They're like vultures. Like you'll see like a bunch of them up above, just like waiting there, and then like 2 people will fly in and try to summon their raid or their group, and then you just see them fucking swoop. Like it's gotten to the point where like there's like a bunch of priests and stuff who will like be up above, and then they'll all dismount and try to Shadow Word Pain somebody who's mounted and like Devouring Plague and then levitate down. So there's like a bunch of like priests who try to kill you while you're in the air now. It's it's getting pretty desperate. What else are you gonna do while you're queued, right? Yeah. For an hour.
Well, I mean, I was watching Bobka's stream, and he was telling people, hey, don't judge me. I have to kill these level 65s because it's the only way he can make some decent honor. Like he's getting more honor from the kills there than he is in the BGs. So he has to go around. I think like what might inevitably force Blizzard's hand is if more people clue into the fact that the honor is in world PvP, not the BGs, because the BGs are so bad right now that that it becomes like phase 2 in classic again. Or was it phase 2?
Where it's impossible to level?
Where it's impossible to level. It's impossible to do anything in open world because the horde will swoop in and just destroy you because everyone needs honor. And if that happens, I think then Blizzard might have to step in and be like, okay, well, we don't want the entire game to be phase 2 of classic where Alliance can't do anything, and it take 1 hour to get to the instance or whatever it was back then.
I mean, so bad. The like trying to get into Blackrock Mountain. My BRD group. Those are the god. If I ever like needed people who I knew were gonna be fucking loyal ever, like I would marry one of the people from my BRD group because they're not going anywhere, man. Like we were in that. The people who made it all the way to the entrance, like an hour of fucking dying and corpse running from Thorium Point down to BRD, like the entire way, waiting for res timers. And there's always that one person who's lagging behind who decided not to start moving until like 15 minutes after everyone else. Like they're working on the auction house or something. You ain't got a warlock. Like, and you think you're about to make it to BRD. And then there's just horde outside of Molten Core, outside like every step of the way, dude. Like a horde would kill you, and then they would be like 5 steps in front of where your body is to kill you again when you res. It was just like,
I remember I had an honor code at the time. I was like, okay, I'm only going to kill people 3 times. I'm the nice guy. Yeah. I'm only going to kill you 3 times. Then you may go. Only 3. I'm being nice here. Those guys 3? Over there, the other assholes, they're going to kill you 10 times.
Yeah, they're going to kill you the maximum amount. And you're like, this isn't efficient anymore to kill you beyond 3. Oh my god!
But yeah,
that's some emotional abuse right there. It's like, well, I'm gonna kill you just 3 times. I'm the nice guy here.
Yeah, I mean, I see people in chat like talking about like how horde horde are the ones causing issues now, and it's like you can't cry about it and such. But like, here's the problem: is that like a good server, you want a lot of horde, you want a lot of alliance, you want a lot of players in general. You don't want it to become like a awkward situation where like, oh yeah, we beat the horde guys, all the horde are gone, or all the horde are like refuse to participate anymore. You want like everyone on both sides participating and enjoying the game. If you isolate one side, it's just not like a fun experience in the end. That's how you end up with like those servers like on Classic where they become like all one faction. Everyone's like, oh, I'm sick of this. Yeah, all the PvP on the server is now one faction.
Yeah, it's that compounding problem of once it starts, like I said with the whole World Boss Coalition, right? Once you realize that it's like helpless, you just give up, and then that makes it less likely for any resistance to ever happen again. So like if you dominate like 60-40 in terms of percentage on your faction, the 40% on the other side is just going to keep getting smaller. People are going to quit the game because they just don't find it fun to get camped. And which makes it more likely for the people staying to get camped because they have less people to fight back with, which makes them more likely to quit. And it just becomes this big thing where the server imbalances go really hard, right? Like that Rain was actually originally an alliance guild on Scarum. And we all know how Scarum is. So Scarum is very horde dominated, like very horde dominated. And that's why Rain takes like world bosses very seriously, because one of the big reasons they transferred off was they legitimately, you couldn't get a fucking world boss to save your life. And it's like, well, they have some of the best loot. Like if you want to be like a competitive guild, like people getting Azure Ghost Crown in like early phases is really strong. Like our top DPS warrior used ED all the way until like the final week of like Nax, where he finally got a wrestle because that loot council hates him. No, I don't know. But yeah, it's like World Boss loot was very important back then. Now World Boss loot actually is not as important. I actually do want to say that before we get back to this. World Boss loot is not as important because in Classic, your Azure Ghost Crown, people literally still wear Azure Ghost Crown right now in TBC. ED, you use the entirety up until Gressel for a lot of people, especially as humans. Here, it's like a lot of this gear, I think I struggle to think of a piece or two pieces that last you past Tempest Keep, Serpentine Cavern. I don't really think there's like almost any that you would wear. And if it is, it's probably some caster piece that I don't give a fuck about. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah. I was saying for rogues, I don't think there's I mean, it's like side grades mostly. It's fairly minor upgrades or side grades for rogues for the world boss stuff.
But there's probably something, and I just can't like think of it at the moment. But yeah, it's not as important for world bosses right now. But yeah, when it comes to like faction balances, people are talking about like Alliance did the same thing. Yeah, Alliance and Horde, surprise, are the same people. Like we're all people. It's just at the end of the day, the Horde are the ones who have more population overall, and that's why like PvP queues are the way they are. And some people are saying like, you know, there shouldn't be a fix because the Horde did this to themselves by rolling the better faction. So it's the price they pay, and it's the bonus for being an alliance cuck like myself and getting camped all day. This is what you finally get. This is what you get, is like you get to not worry about queues for a bit, which I don't know. Like I kind of get that. Like I kind of get the idea of like they already have an advantage. Why would we equalize this? You know?
Yeah.
I'm not sure though. It just feels weird to me from like a game perspective to like make your players wait to play the game they want to play.
Oh, well, Zyrene, you just haven't seen the next phase in Blizzard. So what's going to happen is they're going to add in these bags of gold that you can buy from the shop. And these bags of gold can reduce your queue time. And that's the ultimate end goal. We're going full monetization here.
Does it come with a mount? For retail?
A flying mount?
A bag of gold?
If you buy 10 bags of gold, you get a flying mount. That's what's going to happen.
Is it like a leprechaun pouch? Like you just you jump in a cauldron and fly off in a rainbow? Oh man. God. Yeah. I really don't know like what the solution would be. Like honestly, I think mercenary contracts, just because I'm somebody who's like, I think you should be able to play the game you pay for, right? I understand queues are a thing. But it just feels like you're subjecting people to ridiculously long queues. Like it is egregious at that point, right? Like having it be an hour even 40 minutes, even 17 minutes, I feel like is too long to wait for a queue when you're not at like the highest level of something, right?
I mean,
So
the only solution I've seen so far, and this is what a lot of people have been doing once they've done this for a bit, is they get into queue for all 3 BGs, all the BGs, and then they AFK for like 45 minutes or something and go do something else, and then they come back and then they do all the queues one after. That's like the only way to make it even tolerable right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, is to wait that initial 15, 20 minutes, get into your AV. When your AV is done, your Eye of the Storm may pop, and then you queue for AV again, and then you take your Eye of the Storm. Yeah, it's a whole thing that I was doing as well, but it's just very inefficient compared to being Alliance and hitting Q and then like not even making it like 10 feet away from the Q master and then figuring out which one you want to do.
I mean, I'm curious to see what the implications will be on the season 1 arena then, because it's starting, because Alliance do have all the honor stuff. Although I feel like a lot of the serious PvP is coming from Classic. They already came in with like 75k honor. They're good because they went hard in the pre-patch, even if they didn't get the abused honor at the start. But the Bobcats of the world will definitely have a nice advantage going in with their 75k honor while everyone else is still farming for their PvP trinket.
Yeah, it's strange that they They did add, a bonus honor, right? They added like 100% bonus honor, but then I was just like, God, these gains are still real bad. And especially Horde side, it was just like, it would be great if I could get any honor.
I mean, did you see that was a bug as well at times where like some people weren't even getting the honor? Like it happened after they fixed the flag stuff. Like I don't know if they broke something else. But I don't know if it's fixed again now. But at some point, sometimes people were queuing for BGs and then not getting the honor at the end of the BG, which made it even worse. But yeah, I don't know, man. The arena season start has been interesting, at least to watch the inflation. I'm kind of curious. I can't tell if it's just sample bias from watching the top PvP as PvP because they're just so good and their ratings climbing. But they have gotten to very high arena ratings very fast. Like scarily fast. I think Zayu just in the first like few hours was already like 2200 on his twos. Like it's insane.
Yep, there's people in my guild who are 2K and 5s and they're like 44 and 17 in their record. Yeah. Like it's very different than the way it was back in the day, because back in the day you started at 1500 and I remember going 100 wins, 8 losses, and that was 2200. Because I remember I had a screenshot of it because I was like hitting 2200 with like because we remade our team like every other week, it's like because you wanted to have a better record, because then you didn't want to have long ass queue times, because when you're at the top you have like long ass queues because it's trying to pair you against people who don't exist, so or people who aren't queuing. So it was like we went 100 wins, 8 losses, and that was 2200, and you start at 1500. So the gains right now seem to be insane. And it's not the old system; it's the new system. So I definitely think we're going to see people up in like 3K. Very.
You
very.
Think you're going to see 3K? Because I was making a little like charts to see just the honor gains. I mean the point gains. Actually, I'll pull it up. Okay. So I actually only did it up to 2600 when I was making this chart, and it does. At least you see like the points do kind of start getting lower as you get like higher and higher. It's your point gains do decrease, like it kind of clips down a little bit. But yeah, if we start seeing crazy like 3K ratings, it's gonna make it weird, because it almost feels like, why do we even have the rating? You might as well just get rid of the requirements on the armor if like 1850 and 2K are gonna be this easy to get. Like I don't even see the point in having them in that point, because the ratings are just so inflated.
I mean, it would make people like feel like they're forced to at least play and interact with the system in some way, and be decent to get weapons. But yeah, I don't think it's. I would still keep it just from like a prestige. I mean, this prestige probably doesn't even matter anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're on Fairlina, just whisper Chan or one of the other people selling the ratings for the gold right now. They're making some.
Who's doing that?
Man, there's a whole bunch of people selling the range, which is allowed from what I understand, as long as it's just for gold and such. But
yeah, don't you need to play like 2 weeks or something like that before you get points?
No. So I think like it was just like the weird way that they phrased it. They said like the previous week, but they were talking about like as in once it rolls over, like that week. So it's actually just like the 1 week you have to play.
Gotcha.
And it was just like weird phrasing, but yeah, there's a lot of people selling arena boosts ratings already and such. But man, it's so inflated. It's just so inflated, the arena points. Although I'm actually okay with it if it means that people just get more points in general. It might make it more interesting if everyone just is a little bit more on an even playing field. It would lose the prestige a little bit in that everyone's going to have a full set of arena gear if the points are inflated. Whereas back in the day, I feel like not everyone had a full set of arena gear. You had to be like decently rated to do that. Whereas now I feel like, especially in fives, right? So like on the chat, you can see if you get to, where is it? If you get to like 2K rating in fives, that's already 1,000 points per week for arena points. And 1,000 points per week will get you a decent set in what, like 3 months? That's... But what have you played much arena?
No. I've been leveling characters and I haven't been playing much arena. But from my what I've been seeing in my guild and like what I've been watching, the alliance players seem to be doing really well because they have full sets of gear. Even like new characters in my guild, and you can lose and it doesn't feel that bad to lose. That's all I've seen. Is it doesn't feel like terrible to lose.
I mean, what I've really enjoyed
how I feel about that
is watching the 5 teams of people who are really good PvPers, but they're going into 5s and where it's just a complete cluster and there's too much stuff to monitor. Where it's just complete chaos in the 5s. I've been having fun watching that, like the Zayus and the Bobkas and all those guys try to adapt to 5s. Where they're like, oh, we got to do this, but then like there's like 5,000 things happening at the same time. Everyone's trying to make calls and it's just like, you can't even tell what's going on in the comms.
Oh yeah. What is it? The 5s teams that I've seen that are doing well are like, there's a few people who are like retail PvPers or RBGers who have like come over and at least are playing in Rain, and they're doing like absurdly well in 5s. So it feels like RBG players 5s are like kind of a good place for them, strangely. Because like 5s is like 5s originally, when TBC came out, was what Blizzard was focusing on. I think like the very first Arena Invitational was like a 5s thing, and then 3s became the meta after that. Or then they tried to push 2s, and then I think 3s became the thing. And then 5s was just like, they were like, this is too much of a cluster. Yeah, but it's so funny that you gain the most from 5s, which incentivizes people to do it. So, but it feels really impersonal to do 5s, because 2s feels really like, you and your boy. 3s is like you and the crew. And then 5s is like, holy shit, it's everybody's in here. It's literally like a battleground. It's just like RPGs.
I mean, I'm waiting to see. I still haven't seen a team with a whole bunch of elemental shamans yet. I'm waiting to see someone stream that. I'm really curious to see what happens. Because man, the elemental shamans are fun. I mean, back in the day, like we've talked about this before, there was that one guy who had like a 5-box of elemental shamans just running around one-shotting everyone.
I think his name was Aeli, Aelli. Yeah, like I actually, my chat talks about this a lot because there's people who are like theory crafters, and they'll be like, "What do you do?" They're the type of person who goes like, "So lightning capacitor works on crits, huh?" And they're like, "Let me make a rogue set that uses spell crits." And I'm like, what are you critting? And they're like, "My poisons." Or they're like this Thunder Fury crit count for lightning capacitor, and they're like trying to come up with all these strange builds. So they're the people who do that. But now one of them was like, I wish multi-boxing was still a thing. And this is how I know it's good that it's gone. He was like, I would have multi-boxed 40 druids, and then I would have flight formed up to you, had all of them moonfire you, and then jump back into flight form and kill you in the air. And I was like, that would have been fucking ridiculous. It was like, you're cruising with your mount, and then all of a sudden, and then you just get shot out of the sky, and then they all just fucking flight form again. Oh man. And you could do that fairly quickly too, because you could just you could buy boosts, I guess, but that's a lot of money. There's some whales who like shell out for that type of thing.
I'm actually curious to see how many people will be buying the titles and things at the end of the season for gold, or like how much gold is going to cost. Because this was always a thing in Arena that people always bought gold, or not bought gold. Well, people do buy gold, but people bought titles for gold in game. And actually, like there was the whole underground market of a lot of people that were highly rated back then will tell you that there was a lot of money exchanging hands from people who were paying for gladiator titles and like rank 1 titles and things like that as well.
Like, real life money?
Yeah, real life money. Yeah, like
no comment.
Yeah, no comment. I think there was this thing by Skara actually. Sometimes I watch Skara stream, and like it's something that he'll mention from time to time is that back in the day before he was the League of Legends guy, like he did play. His arena team used to sell boosts to like just really rich people who would pay like $1,000. Here's $1,000, boost the character to gladiator for me, and I think that's obviously going to happen again now. But we'll see if Blizzard gets the ban hammer down, or we'll see what happens there.
Well, what's really there was a Discord for real life money trade for like RBG boosts and like retail boosts and even like really recently there was, and there's like a lot of Discords now where things like that can go down, and it's very easy for them to be like, as long as you don't talk about it in game, it's like so hard to trade. You just look like you picked up some random person, right? So unless it's like a pilot thing where they're going to pilot your character for you, that's when it gets a little weird.
Yeah, that's true. So there's 2 things. It depends on how good the person that's getting boosted is as well, right? Like I think I've heard from some people who have done this in the past where they say like, well, you try to boost them like normally, but then like if they're really, really bad, sometimes they have to pilot the character for them.
Yeah, which makes me wonder about like how good is Blizzard at detecting remote desktop stuff, because remote desktop is something that people do all the time where you can remote desktop into somebody else's computer and then just control it from there.
Well, so the tricky thing as well is that so many people use VPNs as well. It's hard to be like how there's going to be a lot of false positives if you start banning people just because like the IP address doesn't match. Like I have a VPN as well. It's like sometimes I might accidentally leave it on and then my IP address doesn't match where I'm from. So it's one of those things I don't know how...
Accidentally, huh? No.
It's one of those things, you see me with like a rank 1 title at the end of the season. You have like 200 ping. How do you do that?
Well, Switzerland. No, it's like, what?
It's funny. Oh, your keybinds changed to Bobcat's keybinds, and you're using the same weapon layouts and everything.
Yeah, and you sent like 4,000 gold in the mail to Bobka W. Like, wait a second, Bobka Bank. No.
But yeah, I'm fascinated to see what happens. Bobka, get out of here! I see you in chat. You got too much money already. You have like too much gold. Bobka went into TBC with like 35 or 40,000 gold or something absurd.
Oh wow. Yeah, I went in with like 20k and now I'm down to 10 and I'm about to just make another character to 70. So like I can't live without epic flying, strangely enough. It's like for some reason I just have to buy it. It's just so bad to be on a 60% versus a 280. So every time I hit 70, it's a 5k, 6k loss.
Yeah, well, you know
what, it doesn't feel worth it.
You know what feels bad is
Bobcat has 4.5k left.
Yeah,
see, it's like
it costs so much money. It costs so much money.
Yeah, because did you craft the mace? I think he crafted.
He
the mace,
crafted
right?
the mace. He went baller on everything. Yeah, he crafted a mace. He's got everything on his character.
Yeah. You buy the gigantic bags with the 22 slaughters and stuff. There's a lot of gold sinks. Like it's really funny because a lot of people were worried about like the economy in TBC, but it's pretty easy to get gold. You just do quests at 70 and you can end up with a bunch. A lot of people were spending money on maces and stuff. It didn't feel like it felt like the money that people went in with didn't really affect auction house prices in a way that people couldn't take advantage of. For example, like if I sat there and went like, man, ore is really expensive. It's like, if you have a miner, well, you don't need money to make money. You just go mine. It's like, there's a bunch of layers too. And you could just be like, help, like make money yourself. So it just felt like the people who got a bunch of gold from GDKPs, the advantage they got was they got to buy like epic flying or their mace. But now it's like a lot of people are sitting there with either gold they don't know what to do with, or the prices not being inflated too much either. So I actually don't think like it hurt the game too much. It just meant like literally everybody has epic flying right now. Like if you went to if you went to the world bosses, people got flamed for not having epic flying because you would get like if you got killed, you had to get back up and res and fly away as fast as possible. And if you didn't have epic flying, you're just like let me mount, and then you're like and then as you're going up, it's just
so
like you're getting dotted.
It's so slow.
Yeah.
Oh my god! And I say this as someone who doesn't have epic flying because both my toons are like I made the choice. I was like, well, I can get epic flying, or I can get my professions up and all this other essential gear that I need enchanted and gems and everything. So I'm just not gonna get the epic flying. Yeah, and now like every time anyone's waiting for me, they like fly over to me, do a few like loop-de-loops around me because I'm just slowly getting to the place on my 60% mount, which is for some reason 60% and like a fraction of the speed of every other. I don't even understand why the difference between the slow mount and the fast mount is this extreme. It's actually so slow.
It's so stark, dude. It's so stark. I think once you get a 310 mount, it's like the difference between 280 and 310 is still pretty big. It's really interesting how like somebody with a riding crop, like you can tell they have a riding crop when they're on their 280. And when people get to 310, it's going to be like even crazier. So yeah, the 60%er, no idea why it's so slow. It's punishing though. Maybe it's to incentivize you to really spend the money on the 6K.
Well, you know what really feels bad though is having to swap between the mounts. Having to swap between the mounts, like if you don't have the fast one, you on the ground you go, okay, well I need to get down there. I'm gonna use my slow 60% mount, and now I'm on the ground. I'm gonna use my epic riding land mount instead because that's faster than the flying mount. That's what actually feels so bad every time I do that.
Just getting on the horse again. I'm like, yeah. Sometimes I like to ride just on the ground on my epic mount on my griffin because it's cool, you know. And then as soon as you get off the ground, you just fly like 3 times faster than you were running. God, it's so fast. It's so fast, but it's very rewarding to buy. It's very rewarding. Yeah. I think out of like, I will say out of all the possible mount purchases like in the game, like going from like not having a mount to having like a 60%er was like pretty big, right? When you first get it. Then going 60 to 100, you were like, okay, this feels really good. Then going from like the 100 to like the 60% air mount, you were kind of like, I don't really, I'll just take flight paths, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I do.
It's like, I need this for Alcatraz, I guess, but I'll take flight paths. And then when you buy like the 280, you're just like, you're zooming. It's like the best purchase out of all the mounts. It's insane. Like it did feel really good. Yeah. So somebody said a riding crop on a 280 mount actually moves at 318.
It's definitely
there's a lot of things.
Well, yeah, you definitely know those guys that have it.
Started talking about mounts off of arena rating and selling. Yeah, but imagine when people want to buy the 310% gladiator mount. You know how much that's going to cost them.
Yeah. I almost feel like, man, like how impactful it is because before TBC launch, I was talking to some people like predicting how much do you think gladiator is going to cost, like as in like gold value. Like if you had to pay someone to boost your gladiator. Now I'm not sure. Now I'm actually not sure because before I think we were estimating like 50,000 gold, but now like feels like 50,000 gold isn't that much.
There's not a lot to spend it on in the game right now. I feel like the game is reaching its limit in terms of like money and what you can spend it on. Excuse me, because a lot of the things like aren't that expensive or you can farm for. I feel like the most expensive. You know what the most expensive thing in the game is right now? In my mind, is getting slave pens boosts from 60 to 70. Which
how much does that cost, by the way?
It's like 700 gold a level. Because you're paying like 30 gold for like 30k experience. So every level is basically it's gold cost. So like when you need like 560k, it's like 560 gold to get that level. So you're gonna pay like 500 to 700 gold per level. So that's gonna cost you like 5,000, 7,000 gold to just get completely boosted up.
Jesus.
It's like It's like Jesus Christ. That and professions, leveling professions. Oh God, blacksmithing is really expensive right now.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I actually added that to the topic list, the whole professions thing, because Jesus, man, I feel really bad for the people that like didn't have a huge amount of gold and actually went blacksmithing, particularly the rogues that did it, because blink strike, you could buy like 10 blink strikes. Like blink strike has dropped so fast in value. And you could have just gotten that instead of the mace and leveling blacksmithing and wasting all that time and effort on it. Because
here's the thing: is the mace is going to last you like a year. You're going to use the mace for like a year, right? So if you're investing in it now, like you'll probably have it up until Black Temple if you did a glaive. Like because
I guess it depends on if you keep it.
I'm looking,
right? Like
I'm pretty sure like. I'm pretty sure now you can correct me if I'm wrong on this. I'm pretty sure it's your BIS PvE weapon now that like stats are coming back. Like it feels like the haste proc combined with combat potency.
It's within like 5 DPS is the
Spike Blade?
Of Spike Blade. So like all of them
is Spike Blade still your number one?
Well, they're all technically right now.
What's number one? Snow, don't give me the fucking what's number one? What's the best? I don't care about if it's second BIS. What's the best?
Blink Strike is technically BIS in some scenarios, but it's relying on gear scaling. Blink Strike is one of those weird things because like I have like the sims on my website where people are wait, Snow said Blink Strike is like 11 DPS less than Spike Blade. But then like I have to provide a context where it's like that was simmed as an immediate upgrade once you hit 70, is still in max gear. And because Blink Strike procs attack, it actually performs better the better gear you have. It's kind of like Hand of Justice, where like the better gear you have, the more it catches up. But once you actually are in like BIS gear, all top 5 weapons, whether it's like Spike Blade, Blink Strike, the Hope Ender, the Hammer from Blacksmithing, all of these weapons, Gladiator weapon as well. All of those weapons are literally within like 5 DPS of each other, and that's like 5 DPS out of like 1,500 or 2,000, whatever you're doing. So I don't know if you actually notice it or not. Although that doesn't stop the massive amount of people who still PM me asking is like, should I swap out my Blink Strike for a Spike Blade? Or I've got a Spike Blade, should I buy a Blink Strike for that 1 DPS upgrade when I'm in full BIS? But yeah, all top 5 weapons are essentially like close enough that you can consider them the same on the rogue front. But the professions have been kind of crazy. Watching like people... I wish that I wasn't so busy leveling my characters at the start, because I would have killed it on jewel crafting. I would have made so much gold jewel crafting.
My friend did my friend's level 60 is his jewel crafter, and he has made so much money off of it. Like he literally sat there buying like, remember I told you like I got a living ruby and I was like, what should I make it? And I made it like the bold one. It sold for 150 gold to McConnell. He just sat there like cutting living rubies for buying them for 35 gold and selling them for 150. And now living rubies are like over 100 gold because of this motherfucker. Because he just buys them all and then he just cuts them and flips them for like 100 gold profit or 50 gold now. And that's still enough to make money. He bought like the solid Star of a Loon pattern for like 1,000 gold and like instantly made all of that back by just cutting a bunch of them and selling them, the stamina gem. So jewel crafting, you can make so much gold off of that. Because you didn't even have to use prospecting at the start. You just bought the gem, and then people didn't have the recipes, and you just cut them, and then boom.
I mean, it was even cheaper to level jewel crafting at the start if you had the gold as well. Because there was, I think it's like the shadow pearls will take you all the way up to like 270 or something, 370 or something like that. And they were really cheap at the start. People were selling them for like 1 or 2 gold each. So you could just spam skill ups just from that for the last bit that you needed.
Yeah, the Jaggle Pearls, right?
You do the Jaggle Pearls. But then there's another one called like Shadow Pearls, Purified Shadow Pearls or something that you make, and they go green at like
right?
At like 265, I think, or something like that.
Did those cut into the same thing? It was like 9 healing and like 4 spirit or something, right? It's something like that.
I can't remember. It's something like that. But yeah, I just leveled up my jewel crafting the other. It's still not even that expensive to level up jewel crafting. Honestly, it's still pretty cheap.
Yeah, if you did some of the early stuff, like Alini's is in the chat. He was saying that he like made money off of leveling blacksmithing early. Leveling now pretty bad though. Like it's so bad because everybody who wants their like, excuse me, everybody who wants their Fel Iron helm, Fel Iron pants, Fel Iron gloves, they already got them, right? They already leveled their character, they already got them. If they want their Rage Steel pauldrons, they already got them. It's so bad now that if I open trade chat, I will see people undercutting each other on how much they will pay you to use your mats. Like people will spam crafting Rage Steel pauldrons, your mats, plus paying you 40 gold. And I'm like, what? And then somebody else is like paying 50 for the same thing. It's like, what? It's like people are paying you because it's cheaper to like use your mats and pay you than it is to like make Fel Steel helm or something like that. It's brutal out there, dude. It is brutal out there for professions. Like, but if you're a gathering, people ask me all the time, like, what's a good way to make money? I'm like, go get blacksmithing and skinning.
Mining
go get mining and skinning. Like, skinning is actually like really profitable and very easy to level, and you can do it in most of the places that you will level up mining, right? You level up mining in like the starting areas. You can just skin everything there. And I actually got my Draenei skinning up in skinning and leatherworking up in, I think it was like 5 hours of playtime total from 0 to 300. So it was really easy to do both of the professions, and spend only 300 gold on filler stuff for leatherworking at the moment. So it's gathering professions can be really lucrative. The crafting professions are just a fucking sink of money right now. Like, it is a black hole of money, and I don't know where that money is going.
It's funny. The flip switches so fast at the start. If you like take advantage of the crafting professions at the start, you just print money. But then like the flip switches once everyone's there, and suddenly it's just like a black hole of money that you just pour money in, and it goes out the door.
Alini's is saying the best gold making was crafting Eternium rods day 1 or 2. People kept paying 200 plus gold, and the mats were only 25 gold. There was that, and Gutsy, the main tank for my my Rogues Guild, he made thousands of gold because he leveled in Netherstorm and was like one of the only people who had consortium rep, and had the Eternium Sephorium charge recipe. So he was making thousands of gold off of crafting something that took him like only a few gold to make. And because people, it's a material you need for the engineering flying mount, right? So they were selling like flying mount kits for the helicopter, right? And that's why you didn't see like any helicopters at the start, is because it required like a consortium rep for one of the crafters.
Well, they added in late as well.
Person.
They added in late.
He's like, yeah, and he was one of the only people who had the recipe. It was really fucking funny. So it was it's crazy, dude. Oh man.
But yeah, man, the mining is still printing money in a lot of ways. It's mining is very lucrative, right? I know a lot of people that are going like the NG and Joel crafting route for PvP who still haven't dropped their mining because they're making so much money just mining when they just won. Yeah, it's just like, I really want to drop the mining, but I'm making all this gold from the mining that I don't want to drop it.
Yeah, it's interesting because like herbalism is not that lucrative. The only thing that herbalism is lucrative for is like if you get monothistle, but even then that's like not worth that much compared to mining. And those spots are usually like camped. It's like just terracone, right? It's just like the stuff in Terracar Forest, because people want them for the haste potions. Just takes like 2 per haste potion, so like terracone are like 2.5 gold each.
Oh, they're like 10 gold on Whitemane. They
really
went nutty. Yeah, people.
How many layers?
How
many layers do you guys have? Because like, people are hypothesizing that on Fairlina, if you have herbs, you should save them, because when layers go away, if ever, then herbs are going to skyrocket.
That's actually a good point. Like, but I mean, they were 2 gold on Whitemane for a while, and then I don't know, one day the flip switched, and then everything, all the terracones was suddenly like 9 gold each or something.
Probably the haste potion parsers, because like terracone only spawns in Terracar and like very select places. I think in they like little bit in I forget which area. There's like one other place that it spawns, and then it doesn't spawn in instances except for Botanica, and everybody hates Botanica. So yeah, it's Terracone is kind of where the money's at right now if you're an herbalist. Otherwise, everything else is just garbage. So
yeah, the flask prices went up like crazy as well. From like week 1, I remember I was buying flasks for week 1 raiding, and I thought, man, this is cheap. I can buy the rest. I can buy all the ingredients I need, send them to our guild flasker guy. I got all the flasks I need for like 20 gold maybe. But no, now it's like 100 gold, 150 gold for my flask. It's we're back to classic, fun times. We're back to classic where you gotta spend money every week on your flask.
Well, so here's the thing that's going to happen eventually is, if you're like a caster or something like that, just use the supreme power or just get stockpiles of supreme power, because it's only a 10 spell power difference and the gold difference is massive. I wouldn't worry about it. And if you're like an elemental shaman, I actually think your flask is worse than consumables combined, because like the spell crit is just better in my opinion. Like the battle elixir, I think it's sages or something like that. I forget what it's called. It's the green one. It's the green one. I think that's better on some casters, but yeah, there's ways to save money, but also people, burning through consumables right now. I think some sets of like battle and guardian elixirs together for like even healers are better. So you should just like avoid flasking. But like relentless assault, nothing really close to it. When you hit Black Temple though, which of course, will be in, a bit, it's not going to happen anytime soon. In Black Temple, you get flasks from Marks of the Illidari. So there'll be these greens that drop in your raid, right? And people, it's kind of like they drop all the time. It's like a trash drop, right? It just drops off them. It's kind of like scraps from like what is it? From fucking Nax, right?
Nax. Yeah.
There's like scraps from Nax. Yeah, they drop all the time, the Marks of the Illidari. And you trade them in for, it's like one Mark of the Illidari is one flask. And you trade them into like the guy who basically is near the dude who gives you shoulder enchants for Aldor or Scryer. So yeah, that's really, really good. You should definitely, like, when that happens around the time before the Black Temple comes out, I'll probably remind people, you don't really need to buy flasks. Like flasks will start being something that your raid should provide you or your guild bank should provide you through Marks of the Illidari. So it's
I'm
if they
looking
aren't,
forward to that, because I'm poor now, but I feel like that's everyone now in TBC. Everyone just feels poor because everything is kind of pricey. Like I was looking at the enchantments because I got my PvP stuff ready for the arena. I got my stealth items up, enchanted. I got my jewel crafting up. After I did everything, I looked at it and I was like, man,
so expensive.
All my gold's gone, and then I still have to buy like things like Surefoot. If you get a meta gem for your helmet, then you gotta buy the Surefoot enchant for your boots. But Surefoot enchant is like 400 or 500 gold right now. It's insane.
Yeah, is that a rep enchant?
I don't know actually. I think it might be, but even the ingredients for it are really expensive because it uses the stupid void crystals that everyone is using right now.
The mongoose, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess it drops from Phantom Stagehand in
it's a Kara drop.
Karazhan. It's a Kara drop.
So hard.
Yeah, it takes 2 void crystals, 4 prismatic, and a primal nether. So the enchanter has to have a primal nether.
Yeah, it's so expensive. But yeah, I mean, man, we got sidetracked a lot from the PvP talk, but
this is still combined with PvP, where it's like it's your best, like PvP in and of itself requires professions if you want to min-max, right? Like engineer, especially as a rogue, engineering jewel crafting, right? Like you want engineering jewel crafting or potentially blacksmithing for the mace. And that's a huge gold sink. Like you were saying, people who are PvPing right now are kind of like, it's not that serious because it's just the start. Like they aren't dropping mining yet. They're just like, this is too lucrative. It's too much money. So yeah, I feel like that's something people have to battle with right now, is the seriousness of PvP and arena at the very beginning, and their professions and their gold making. So it's it is a tug of war.
They can just be completely broke on the one tune on that server and not have mining left on that one, and then you the choice is made for you. You're just poor. You're just very poor. But I have to say,
just be poor.
Yeah, just be poor.
Snow 2021.
I've been doing that for 6 phases of Classic. It's worked out pretty well for me.
Oh, I mean, it does work out sometimes. Oh man, I actually wonder if there's like a really good pickpocket farm. That's just something I was going to ask you. Is like, because I know Spine Sever's in the game, right? And you can go to like Black Temple and like pickpocket there. I was like, I wonder if there's like a good setup for that.
I don't think anyone's found one that's just like pickpocketing yet. Because I there's a few where it's like combining it with like mining and chests and things like that, but I don't think anyone's found anything that's like just like focusing on just the pickpocketing alone. I think most of them are like hybrids working into like the instance mining or things like that.
We've come full circle. The chat just mentioned, Juzri just mentioned, actually horde queue times are good for gold making with mining. So the queue times are helping the horde make gold. Holy shit.
Since it's a little bit related to PvP, did you see the the season 2 item was added in? I actually have the clip here. Where's the one that Bean was doing? Yeah. Just casually. I like how he tries to play this down as well.
This ring looks really nice.
Did he have it?
Yeah. He just goes to Arena Vendor and he's like, this ring's really nice. I'm gonna buy this ring.
Survival's probably better in the Rogue Priest.
Oh wow, wow. This ring looks really nice. Yeah, this ring actually looks really nice. I think I'm actually gonna buy it. I'm gonna spend that much honor to buy that ring. I'm gonna do that. Wow.
He's just like, yeah, this is really nice. I'm gonna buy that. Yeah, I'm just gonna buy that right away. So for people that don't know, basically like the season 2 arena thing is that they added in. I don't know what happened, but the next season's items were on the vendor. You could just buy them for honor. So people abused that and went and bought the season 2 item, like the rings and things. And I don't think it's been removed yet. I don't know, but I don't believe it's been removed of the characters. So you literally have people running around now with season 2 items on their characters.
Part of me goes, it's just the ring, but I know that's like still a big deal. So did you see the people who had season 1 gladiator gear already?
Wait, what? I didn't see that one. What happened there?
Didn't see that? Oh man. So there was a screenshot of somebody in a Eye of the Storm who inspected a paladin who already had 2 pieces of gladiator gear before arenas were out.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
How did they say on it? How? Like, what's the story here?
So apparently there was a way to get to the Isle of Quel'Danas and trade tier pieces in for arena gear. So somebody had tier pieces, went there, traded them in, and got the gladiator gear.
But yeah, there's so many. I mean, this goes into our weekly bug report stuff. In that, man, there's so much just weird stuff in the game right now. Just really weird. From the season 2 gear being added in there by mistake to where you're saying that the people could get the gladiator gear early, to the double Magtheridon bug. That's a fun one. That's more. But the thing is, this was happening in beta. The double Magtheridon casting was already happening in beta, and it seems like it's only now people are paying attention to it because it's not fixed, and everyone's doing mag now. But yeah, it actually happened to my guild. Like it literally happened to my guild as well, where we wiped at 5% because we got a blast wave. And then we got the second blast wave as well. And I guess we learned our lesson to pay more attention to the bug after that, where you have to actually hold the cast or the channel until he's like starts channeling or whatever. And then
you have to it's you have to interrupt it from while it's casting. So it has to he has to complete the cast, and then while it's channeling, you have to interrupt the channel. Yeah. Right? Yeah, that's the way to stop the bug from happening.
Yeah. Yeah, so everyone starts late clicking, and it feels really bad because it's like we're having to do this extra weird mechanic to fix like Blizzard's problem that this shouldn't be a thing that we're having to worry about. And it's especially a bit scary when you're going into that first one at 30%. Oh yeah, you can see here on the stream that here we die because we got the back-to-back blast novas. But you get really scared for the first one because you just got hit by the cave in as well, and now you're having to hold this for longer, and you're having to wait, and you might take a little bit of damage. It's really scary. Like right after cave in, like I think we started telling people, okay, after the cave in, everyone just pop potions and health stones and stuff, and then that's how we're gonna survive, because we have to hold this for as long as possible to make sure we don't get this weird bug thing happening.
Yeah, just wait, and then then click later. It's click and hold.
But I mean,
it's a.
That's just one of the
things are always shitty.
One of the bugs. Have you had the Nightbane bug at all?
Oh yeah, I had that in beta a lot, where he stands there and just like flaps in front of you, and you're just like, you good?
Yeah. So like, but now he also locks you out sometimes.
There was a streamer that I was playing alongside who had it from beta when it was happening. Oh yeah, and then there's times where he like resets and like he would reset and fly away.
Yeah, like he resets and flies away. Sometimes he literally just like resets, flies away, and then locks you out, so you can't do Nightbane anymore.
Oh god,
that's always fun. Okay. Oh yeah, there you go. And Nightbane just flies away. He just flies away.
He was done. He just didn't want to fight us anymore. Which I'm just like, damn, is that what would happen in real life? He just like, fuck this shit. It's ready.
Ship it.
It's funny that he's saying this and this is still happening now. They still haven't fixed this. But I mean, like, the thing is, Blizzard keeps saying that they're fixing these bugs. I think they said they fixed some stuff, and then like it's like
doing a good job.
It's still kind of happening. So I'm kind of
I have a little more sympathy for that position now, because like they are fixing things slowly but surely. Like my belt shows up a little bit now, so I'm satisfied.
That's all it took. That's all it took. That means an easy pay. Just fix his belt graphic.
Yeah, just make my character look pretty again, and then I'll be okay. Like, well, actually, sometimes it disappears still on my dwarf, but that's it's becoming a meme at this point, so it's a little okay. But they are fixing some things slowly. So it's not the end of the world, but they have a lot on their plate, is what it feels like. And the team, I just feel like it's a small team, like big game, small team. It's even though it is like a multi-dollar company,
at least two multi-dollars.
Yeah, at least $2 company. I don't feel like it's like in as bad of a shape that I thought it was going to be. To be completely honest, based on the beta, I thought it was going to be really bad. So.
I would like, though, I have to mention the rogue bugs, because please, Blizzard, can you fix these ones at some point? Because if you vanish when you BF right now, it doesn't reset your threat sometimes. So you can like vanish after BF, and then the target that you were BFing kills you.
I die all the fucking time. Like I die all the time, and I think it was affecting me to the point where I was blade flurrying, and then it would look like the pull is a wipe, right? And then I'd vanish, and then the thing would still go after me in stealth.
Yeah, it would still reset. Like, I don't understand.
I couldn't vanish, like reset the fight, and I was like, what? And it was really bad. So because I want to like jumper cable people, and it just made me really sad.
So I hope it fixes that. But have you seen is your shade behaving weirdly? Like in what way? In your runs, because it's something that I've noticed, and some people told me as well, and I noticed it more after people pointed it out, that Shade seems to melee a bit more nowadays. Like he'll run up and hit someone once, and before he starts casting, a lot more than it feels like he used to.
Yeah, excuse me. It was happening on beta to me, so like this is just normal Shade behavior at this point for me, because he was just the most frustrating fight, because he's just really inconsistent. Because at first it was like, what we started to do was we would interrupt him, but we'd like wait for the end of his cast to interrupt him, and we'd only interrupt fire and frost. If you lock him out of all three, he'll melee like 100%. And if you lock him out early and he tries to like cast another, he won't be able to, right? So if you lock him out of his spells too fast and kick his spells too fast, he'll melee is what it feels like. So we're like waiting to interrupt, and that seems to fix it for us.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to try that, because the melee
and
stuff
to not interrupt arcane. Yeah, and not interrupt arcane.
Although the Shade does also have the issue of where he was resetting. People were getting multiple Shades in one instance. Same with chess event as well.
It was really interesting because we went back in to do Nightbane, and when we entered, it said we had 9 out of 11, and we were like, "What? What? Wait!" And then we started counting on our fingers. We're like, maybe it's the animal bosses because the animal bosses reset, and then we were like, "Wait, that doesn't add up. That's the 12th boss." So we were like, "What's up?" And so we like ran around and like we couldn't find it. But I was people were talking about Shade wasn't like counting towards your kill, or like the Shade trash was respawning still.
Yeah.
And so we were just like, oh. So we didn't actually check and see if Shade was up, but that makes sense.
Yeah. So Shade was resetting, and then chess event was also resetting. People were exploiting that. I heard they got banned though. Like the people that were, they were just getting free chess loot over and over. So don't do that, guys, because those guys were apparently got like pretty harsh bans from what I heard. And well, I mean, on top of that, chess event was just bugging in general, right? I don't know if you had that. It happened to one of my groups where, like, at the end of chess, it asks you if like you want to save or something, and if you click yes, then you can't get loot.
Yeah, it's it was some weird thing where it was like instanced or whatever. But yeah, we had that happen. It happened literally every single time I ran Kara in beta, and I ran like 20 Karas. Every time that chess event was done, it would ask everyone if they want to be saved to the instance that's like 8 out of 11 or something, or 8 out of 12. Or yeah, 8 out of 11, or like 8 out of 11. And then only one person could loot the chest, and only that person could get the loot.
Yeah. It's really weird. I mean, the way we got around it is that we said no one click anything until we've distributed the loot. And then it seems like, okay, as long as you don't click anything, everyone can get the loot. But it's really weird. There's a lot of weird raid bugs right now in regards to that stuff. And then Paladin Consecrate isn't working as well right now.
Hey, they get the... Oh my God, they play like warriors now. Wow, look at this.
This is actually a feature. They're balancing the classes.
People were like, man, Paladins, this is so broken. It's unplayable. And I'm like, dude, this is literally what playing a warrior is like right now. Like, they're like, mobs are running straight past me. I'm like, yeah. They're like, in Black Morass, I can't get aggro of anything. It's like, yep. Seems like a normal behavior to me. I was like, yeah, this is exactly what it's like playing warrior right now. It's pretty bad. Oh my God. Oh, dude. It's so bad.
But I mean, speaking of like bad, Zyrene, there was a topic you brought up earlier that you wanted to discuss. So, rogues are bad, as quoted by Zyrene. What are your thoughts there?
So, now that we have data coming in from Warcraft logs, in a full Karazhan clear on bosses, there's only bosses, right? And I know bosses are not the end-all be-all. Yeah. Rogues are the worst class in the game, aside from druids, at dealing damage to every boss in Karazhan. You are worse than Rep Paladins. You are worse than Shadow Priests. You are worse than Enhancement, Elemental. You're worse than every Hunter spec, including Marksman. You're worse than an Arms Warrior. And the only things that you are better than are Balanced Druid, Feral Druid, and they're usually tanking on some of these fights, so the damage, take that with what it is. And then Assassination and Subtlety Rogue. So in a full Karazhan clear with all bosses, you are the worst DPS class on bosses aside from druids. It is pretty fucking sad. And the reason I think this is because the way Rogue is you went from being very AP and crit based because your resources like very much so just static. Now that combat potency is in the game, everybody is stacking hit, and hit is not a directly like beneficial stat DPS wise or hit wise to things like Sinister Strike or your instant attacks. You just get more of them, right? And with combat potency, let's say you have a Latros, and with like slice and dice up, you're looking at something like a 1 second swing time, right? That means every 5 seconds you're getting an extra 15 energy. So every 5 seconds you're getting 15 extra energy, which means every I guess on average, every 15 seconds, you're getting 45, right? You're getting enough to do an extra. So every 15 seconds, you're getting one extra Sinister Strike in, one extra combo point. And that's pretty poor right now, considering with hit, you're sacrificing AP, crit, which crit is not a very good stat for you anyway, but hit is just so highly prioritized that I'm hitting for less than I did before, albeit I'm hitting more frequently, right? So my feeling right now is that rogues are really, really bad, but you're bringing two things. You're bringing expose armor, right? And on top of that, the other thing that you need to consider is your best scaling stats are things that are just not available right now. Like hit and haste are going to be incredibly beneficial for you in the future, because that's what actually is going to scale your resource generation. So it's kind of like how I play Prot Warrior. You need like 490 defense baseline, right? And it's very easy to get 490, and then you stack stamina. For rogues, it's like you need to get hit capped, and then you can work on other things. But right now, hit is just not that abundant. So as the game progresses and gear gets better, rogues will get a lot better. I think you're actually going to jump up to be like the second best or third best single target damage in the game, especially with glaives. But just because hit isn't very existent on your gear, and haste isn't either. So when those two stats become way more abundant, rogues will be a lot better because they'll be more accessible, which means then you can get more AP, more agility, more crit, and then the stats that actually boost your damage on top of once you're able to hit things. So yeah, I think rogues are just bad. Rogues are just bad. Playing rogue right now feels really bad. And what you do, it doesn't really scale with a bunch of hit. Like I talked about your resource generation, but you're using like rupture now, right? You're using like rupture, which doesn't really it doesn't crit. It just scales with your AP, which you're not getting a lot of. In fact, rogues are sitting at like 19% crit and like 1500 ability power, or sorry, attack power. And so like you're just not, a lot of things just aren't feeding into anything but your white attacks right now. So it just feels really bad, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's one of those things where a lot of rogues especially are not going using haste potions now as well, which are a big boost if you're using the haste potions, because they're kind of expensive still. I think I had a look earlier. They're like still like 15 gold each for a haste potion if you're buying off auction house. I have noticed though, like that the good rogues who are willing to min-max and push it have been performing like fairly decently, like good. But there's that big drop off from them. Like there's the good rogues, and then there's like all the other rogues underneath it, and it's like, oh god, there's a sea of really, really bad rogues down there in the bottom trenches.
So like the way to read this is a box chart or a box graph.
Box plot.
Box plot. The line in the center of the box is the average, so you can tell like the average warrior is like worse than the average elemental shaman. But then the dot at the end is what I pay attention to. That's the outlier. That's the best performer, right? So the best performing fury warrior is actually the third best damage dealer in the game, or the fourth best damage dealer in the game. But it's like Arcane Mage is the number one boss damage dealer in Karazhan right now, ahead of Beast Mastery Hunters. Like the best Arcane Mage has beaten out the best Beastmaster Hunter. And then the BM Hunter, and then the Warlocks, and the Warlocks are incredibly close to the Fury Warriors. So Fury Warriors are actually really fucking good, but it's the Fury Warrior who is like being played around, who is like basically throwing all their Fury Warriors have a chip on their shoulder because people have said they're bad. And like if you go look at like Gruul and you go look at like Magtheridon, these are people who are like getting like second highest in terms of like damage, right? The Alawandos, yeah, exactly. And even then, like Alini's is a guy who's in your chat. Alini's is somebody that I raided with. Alini's has like some rank 1 in the world parses right now for warriors. He was number 1 on Illhoof in the world over all warlocks and hunters for a bit. So like there's warriors out there who are like disgusting, sweaty min-maxers, and they're going to make the class, like I've been saying, they're going to make the class good. Like Rogue, no matter how much you try right now, it's not good.
This is not easy. It's not easy. Let me check my last car run actually, because
it's not easy, but it's not good either. But like warriors are good. Like this is the thing, is everybody who's like been telling me I'm on fucking copium, you're stupid as fuck. Like warriors are actually good, and this is bosses, and there aren't that many cleave fights in Karazhan compared to what you'll have later. So there'd be more cleave fights. Warriors will go up in damage. And this isn't even full clear where warriors do more damage on trash than hunters. So warriors are going to be your top 3 DPS class in the game. Like it's absurd that people don't think that they're good or haven't thought that they're good. It's just that when you look at warrior, the average warrior, actually, if you sort it by averages, the average fury warrior is like in the lower half of DPS. Like they're worse than the average like frost mage, marksman hunter, enhancement shaman. They're only better than like shadow priest, rogue, arms warrior, ret paladin, and feral. They're not better than like the average fury warrior is eating shit because they have to think about all the the mechanics, right? That hunters don't have to think to, right? It's pretty insane. It's pretty insane.
Yeah. I mean, I was looking at my last Kara run. I think like rogues don't feel too bad as long as like you're willing to like learn your rotations and like min max where you can still do okay. I was looking at my last Kara run. I was still like 3rd DPS, like a little bit behind the hunter. And I know like the hunter and lock here were like being pretty sweaty, and I wasn't using haste potions or anything like that, so I was still doing pretty respectable. I was 3rd overall in boss DPS, but like what I have noticed here is that there's a big drop off from the good rogues to everyone else, and I've gotten a lot of questions from rogues because there's a lot of rogues that want to play daggers or that want to play that mutilate thing.
No.
And it's like
terrible. It's terrible.
Like I have to explain to them like because on paper the combat daggers is like less than 2% of a drop. Or just on the paper, but there's so many negatives there that don't show on just raw sim. Like one is positional disadvantages already in daggers. Daggers never matches up to what they sim for because they always assume perfect execution and perfect positioning and such.
I actually have a little bone to pick with that because a lot of people like. When they're like, "Oh, can I play daggers?" and I'm like, "No, it's not really good." They're like, "But Snow says it's only like a 5% or 2% DPS loss, like for between like mutilate and like daggers." And I'm like no offense or anything like that. I'm like, that's absolutely like just wrong, right? Like it's not just that. Even sim wise, because like I don't know if that's taking into account resource generation or resource expenditure, not from like energy standpoint, but from like. It's more expensive to generate combo points, which means it's impossible to keep up slice and dice and expose and any form of rupture, right? And like you're basically using 0 finishers, and a decent amount of your damage is rupture now, and people expect you to keep expose on. So it's like impossible to keep expose on with a 60 cost ability and answer your slice and dice. Like
I mean, the answer there is that they're not exposing, which is kind of like the other problem, which I try to explain to people. It's like on paper, like it's like like a 2% drop off for combat daggers versus combat swords, but that's like assuming you're not exposing. And as any dagger rogue has told you, if you've ever tried to expose as daggers, it sucks. It feels horrible. Exposing as daggers feels horrible because your combo point generation is 60 energy. It feels really, really bad trying to get the combo points to keep expose up and slice and dice up. Even those two, because even as a sword rogue or fist rogue or mace rogue, you're already having troubles keeping those two up all the time, much less trying to fit in ruptures or eviscerates in on top of that. And as a dagger rogue, it's like you're not exposing. So like
I'm pretty sure once you get enough haste and hit, you can rotate 5-point expose with like 5-point slice and dice or rupture, and then get like a 3-point or 2-point of the other. I'm pretty sure once you get like enough haste and hit and like resource generation, you can rotate between like a 5/5 and a 2 or 3. I think you like 3-point slice and dice or something like that, and then you like 5-point.
Yeah, I think you can, but you definitely need a little bit more gear. Right now it's a little bit.
You need a lot more
gear.
Yeah. You'll scale with gear. That's the thing. Rogues are bad right now, in my opinion, but you'll scale with gear. Which is really funny because I looked at like the number 1 like rogue on Prince, and he's actually exposing, so his damage would be higher. But it's, even then, it's not going to be that much higher. That's the thing is, a lot of rogues are like, "Oh, but I'm exposing, my damage would be higher," and I'm like, it's actually not going to be that much higher. It's like your damage from exposing.
Like early on, we were thinking that maybe like it's not really much of a DPS loss, and it is not that much of a DPS loss, but that also means it's not much of a DPS gain either. If you're not exposing, it's like it's something like 20 to 40 DPS loss right now in like optimal exposing. But the thing about exposing is that sometimes you don't do an optimal rotation to keep the expose up. Like sometimes you're just left in like these bad situations where expose has 6 seconds left. You don't want to expose yet, but if you don't use your energy now, you're going to overcap, or you're going to be in like an awkward situation with your energy. So you have to just waste the early expose and suffer your damage a little bit. It's just one of the side effects of like being the exposed armor is you can never let it drop.
Yeah, never let it drop. And like one of the top rogues I was talking to, he's excited for this week because he just got DST.
Oh,
which I'm just like, damn, how'd you get DST being one of the worst DPS classes in the game right now? And he's like, because don't tell anybody. I was like, I don't know if he pugged it and like reserved it or something and like actually let a girl kill, but he has DST, and I'm just like, damn, that's like, we'll see what that at least does for him, because it seems to be doing wonders for a lot of warriors who have it.
And, the Alandos of the world seem to be killing it with their DSTs.
Yeah. Oh, and here's the other thing too, is a lot of people will say things like, you have to take into account that when you look at like the outliers here, these are people who are being played around. These are people where like their raid is sacrificing for them. And when they talk about warriors, they're like, oh yeah, the warrior's getting like a bloodlust, like, and people are actually moving away from multiple bloodlusts because it shames you publicly.
Yeah, thank God.
On the list, it shows you.
Thank God. It actually, for people that don't know, you can rotate bloodlust so that like one guy can keep getting bloodlusted over and over again, and that like boosts up your passing. But it's a really dumb meta if you do that. It like shows it shames you because it'll actually put a number next to your parse and say like 2 to show like how many bloodlusts you got. It's actually interesting because if you're a caster, it tells people if you got innervate. Ooh.
So it'll put a 2 next to you if you got bloodlust and innervate. So it actually publicly shames you if you get a druid innervate too, which is interesting. So people can like look at the parse and discount it and be like, oh, he got help. Like, but I find really funny. I actually think it's hilarious.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess to wrap up the rogue stuff a bit, in a lot of rogues ask me what I think about the like them going daggers and such, because they're like, oh well, I already do bad DPS. I just want to play like the thing that's fun. And for me, like when I answer it, I tell them, look, if you're in a casual guild where like they really don't care about like the performance and such, then go ahead. That's fine. Like if you're in a casual guild and no one cares and you just want to have fun and all that, that's fine. But if you're in like a semi-hardcore higher where people actually care about the performance and they care about like what you're contributing, like it's almost a little bit disrespectful to your fellow guildies to be doing that, because one, they're already taking a rogue, which like a lot of guilds don't even want to take the rogue. So they're giving you a raid spot, and raid sizes have dropped from classic. So a lot of people have been kicked out of guilds, raids and things like that. They're just benched, and they're giving you that precious raid spot to be on a class that's not super desirable. And to take that raid spot and then say that, okay, well, I mean, I want to play this other spec because like I just like daggers more. And like, one, you're not doing like one of the main jobs they're bringing you there to do, which is expose then, because daggers sucks at expose. And then 2, like, even if like your on paper loss is 2%, I guarantee you it's going to be more than 2%. Just because that's just how daggers always plays. Like the paper loss may be 2%, but it's probably going to be like 5 to 10% or more. Like just from positional issues and other issues with playing daggers. Like daggers has never performed as well as the Sims lay them out to be. They've always performed a little bit less.
Yeah, and like even positional issues aside, just the whole combo point generation and rotation, right? It just becomes a lot. I even think with optimal play, it will never line up with the Sims. Like the Sims, I think just favors daggers because bursty damage and shit like that. So I don't know. I don't put a lot of weight on that and put a lot more in like, real world application, how it actually executes. Because God, dude, playing rogue is a lot of like forward thinking on how you're going to use your combo points and energy. And right now, energy procs just jumping up and changing things. You have to be able to use them in the moment correctly. Because I think back in classic, I almost never in vanilla classic, I never like wasted combo points ever. Here, I'll like.
It's really easy, to waste.
I used to do energy pooling where it was like I have like 5 seconds left on slice and dice, and I have like 0 energy, right? And so, or like not 0 energy. I'll have like 5 points on the boss. I'll have like 5 seconds left on slice and dice, and I'll have like 20 energy. So I'm like, okay, I'll just save my energy and wait until Slice and Dice about to fall off, and then I'll refresh it, right? Like just standard move, right? Don't waste any of your Slice and Dice time. So just like pool energy to 70 energy for the next 5 seconds, or I guess you would, pull it over like 5 seconds, get 70 energy, I guess you would get 60. And then it would put me at 80. And then I would Slice and Dice 5 points, get 25 back. So I'd be at 80. Next tick would get me to 100, right? So then I get like 2 combat potency procs, and I'm just like, oh fuck, what do I do? Like I'm gonna overcap energy. I'm gonna literally Slice and Dice, and then the next energy tick would have put me at like 120, and I like on GCD, so I can't spend the Sinister Strike fast enough. And it's just like I've actually wasted energy a few times by doing like optimal vanilla rotation of pooling energy for the duration of your
you get punished. It's punishing sometimes, like trying to be optimal.
It's bad.
Although it does feel really nice. I will say it does feel really nice when like you figure out like in your head at the time, you're like, oh, if I do this, then I can get the optimal here, and then if I rupture here, and then it works out perfectly, you're like, you actually feel accomplished because you're like, oh man, that was hard. I actually had to think through in a split second and make the decision. It actually feels really nice when you get the rotation to work out, because it actually takes work now.
That's why I always played swords instead of daggers in Classic, because I played daggers the very first time, and it's just you're literally, you press one button every 6 seconds. You press backstab every 6 seconds. You're literally a mage that's only pressing pyroblast. That's the same CPM.
I will say though, mutilate is really fun. So I understand the people that do play mutilate and they're like, dude, this is so fun. I just want to play this on raids. But no, don't play mutilate on raids unless you're in a casual guild where they really don't care. Your guildies may resent you a little bit if you do that in better guilds.
I had a question for you, because my experience with deadly poison right now is very mixed. And I see some rogues opting for instant poison still in the offhand. What do you feel about between instant and deadly poison for the offhand currently?
Deadly performs better, but I have noticed that a lot of bosses have issues with like resisting and things like that. Yeah. The deadly poison does resist a lot.
Yeah, it drops. They resist the application, and I know it has like a it's a higher proc chance. It's 30% versus 20. But like your stacks will drop. Sometimes they'll get resisted, and the other thing I've noticed on top of it is that I don't always have enough hit yet to just keep it up all the time. Like sometimes my offhand misses, and I'm just like, don't know if it's like worth it yet. It's interesting because like I think the rogue in the Salad Bakers run was using instant poison instead of deadly, which probably makes sense for like killing ads in a 4-minute kill, but I don't know. When you're constantly hitting a big boss, I would imagine deadly's better. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure deadly does seem better for sure, like 100%. But it's just that, man, there's a lot of fights where you're running out as well, and like in and out, and like it's easy for the deadly to drop. The actual min-max thing is that if it's gonna drop, you need to get the shiv in there if it's gonna drop. Shiv. But a lot of rogues aren't min-maxing to that level.
I've been shiving a lot and wondering like if it's worth it to shiv like DPS wise.
I think the math,
honestly,
math works out. It is worth it if it's like a 5-stack. Yeah, to keep the 5-stack there if you need to. I think the math works out that it is worth it.
Yeah, it doesn't hit that much worse than Sinister Strike right now, to be completely honest. Shiv ain't that bad.
But yeah. Someone in chat's asking if Deadly takes a debuff slot. Could that be an issue? It shouldn't really be an issue in TBC with the reduced raid sizes. In Classic, it was for a bit because you still had 40-man raids, but now we're on 25-man raids, so it's not really an issue of debuff cap and such.
And debuff cap is a lot higher, so less people to apply debuffs and more debuff slots.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, rogues are bad.
Don't worry, guys. We scale with the gear. I mean,
this is coming to my TED talk.
This has been something that's very evident with Melee. Is that Melee have always taken that time to scale up with gear a little bit more so than the casters. It seems to just happens in a lot of MMOs as well. In general, is that the casters tend to always get like that early advantage because they don't need as much gear to perform. But the Melee do.
I feel like the reason for that is mechanics will do damage, and Melee typically will be taking more damage by nature of being Melee, and can't be in safe positions at all times, whereas range typically have the ability to hit things from afar, ignore some mechanics or have less mechanics apply to them. And it's also a thing that like people don't always consider that the things that they have to scale with. I think hunters, this is applicable to them as well, where like most statistics that you'll get will apply to what you want to do, right? Like I guess what I want to say is for classes that are physical damage, there's like a lot of things that will apply to you that don't apply to mages, and you have an extra statistic that you scale with that mages don't really scale with, or casters, which is armor penetration, right? So like spell pen only gets you so far. There's only so many resistances, and they're very easy to take off with like Curse of Shadow, or Curse of Elements, I guess is what it is now. And so removing armor is going to be something that's another statistic that you scale with later on top of everything else that you're going to have. And then resource generation is the other thing too, because you have a resource that casters don't have that they have to worry about their mana, but you don't do more damage based on getting more mana, right? Yeah. It's just how much you spend and all of that. So energy, rage, those things, those are going to matter later. And your stats will typically help you with getting more of that. So yeah, there's all these things with how it scales and why it scales, but yeah, long story short, I mean, you scale better with gears.
The conclusion, guys, is that you should give your rogues DST just so we can see what will happen with the haste scaling. So all guilds should give your rogues a DST is the conclusion for today.
I thought I was going to say something to make people mad. It was you. Turns out it was you.
Well, my guild's already got 1 DST, but we gave that to a hunter. Number 2 for snow, though, guys. Number 2 for snow?
Monka W, dude. You mean Ret Prio? Actually, funny. Ret single target DPS is very high. So
yeah, I was watching. Who's that Ret Pally you play with?
December's.
Yeah, I was watching December's stream, and yeah, he does some chunky good DPS.
Oh yeah, he was number 1 on our Gruul. He has a 99 parse. He's a really good player. He's like. He's waited 2 years for this. Let him have this. You know, the guy like went out and farmed his Lionheart Executioner or Lionheart Champion already. He was the first person in the world to have Sulfuris, right? He had story about December's. Shout out to the boy. His name, his Twitch is October's TV or October's YT YouTube. October's YT. He is an Aussie who plays on East Coast Surfer, so all the way across the world. And he was the world first Hand of Rag, and he had it on his dwarf. And then when AQ was going to come out, he looked up the sets and was like, "Oh, 2.5 doesn't have any hit on it. How am I going to get hit capped at 9% as a dwarf?" And he re-rolled human, even though he had a Hand of Rag on his dwarf. He re-rolled a new Ret Paladin. He hates himself that much that he made 2 Paladins, both of which are Ret in classic, not even in classic. So yeah, he's put a lot of time into being a good Ret Paladin, and so he seal twists all the time. He does min-max shit though. Like he purposefully stands inside of cave-ins to take extra damage so that he gets healed and gets mana back from getting healed by other people, right? So like tiny things like that a paladin can do to annoy their raid but get more damage. But yeah, he's definitely a good player. Him and the enhancement shaman in our group called Windfearer. He's a good player as well. They both got a 99s on that Gruul, and they were the number 1 and number 2 DPS. So yeah, they're both good players. They both put in a lot of effort, and they're playing quote unquote meme classes from before. But you can definitely do a lot of good single target damage. Yeah. And somebody asked earlier, where do I think rogues are going to be later in the later phases? I think rogues are going to become your number 2 single target damage behind hunters and maybe warlocks, depending on like if you have a bunch of warlocks in a raid. Because I think glaive rogues are just insane. Like I think warrior with glaives is better on trash, but a rogue with glaives is going to do better on bosses. Maybe Alawanda will show differently, but I think that. I think it's just going to be really insane once you have good haste procs, once you have a really fast offhand that does damage, and then you have armor pen, you have all these other stats like haste and hit. So they won't because of boss mechanics. See, that's the thing is I think rogues actually have an advantage there because Cloak of Shadows can help you avoid a lot of boss mechanics. Boss mechanics like Gruul, you can position yourself every time with Cloak of Shadows.
Yeah,
on Brutalis, you can cloak off the burn, and so you don't really count towards the quote unquote capped melee, the melee cap on how many melee you can have or in one spot. So they can avoid a lot of mechanics, that especially the ones that are scripted. And like right now, like if you can evasion on like High Lord or High King and stuff like that, if you're lucky.
Can you evasion that? I should ask you that because maybe you've done it. Because I've tried to evasion it twice and I've been hit through it both times. So I don't know if I want to try.
I got hit through it this week and I was like, oh shit! Like, but I dodged a few attacks the first time.
So you can dodge it though. So. It is dodgeable.
Yeah, it is dodgeable, but the third one will like hit me, and I'm like, oh okay, that's fucking weird. But I wouldn't try it. So I'd wait for a different mechanic. I'd wait until we have more agility because right now we don't have a lot of agility because we're sacrificing for hit. So yeah. When we have more agility. Later, it'll be good.
Yeah. I mean, I gotta say though, I don't actually mind exposing too much. It's just because rupture doesn't feel that satisfying either. My alternative is rupture. Is like
that's the thing.
I don't get the big crits or anything, so it's
Yeah, from a visceral standpoint, rogues feel bad and don't feel very satisfying to play right now as well. Like rogues are bad and they don't feel good to play either because like sure, you're PvP gods. If you're playing rogue and you like PvP, or sorry, if you're wondering if you should play rogue and you love PvP, then you can play rogue. Or you should play rogue. If you like PvE, I would just say play enhancement shaman right now because people are going to want you more and the numbers are way more satisfying than when playing rogue right now because you don't get like crit right now. You don't get a lot of stats that feel good. You stack hit, you get expertise. You're going to want haste later as well and armor pen. So basically rogue is like a lot of little hits that don't hurt very much. And then you don't even eviscerate, you rupture. And that's like another little tiny baby hit that's going to like what'll happen is rogue won't be more satisfying to play in the future, but your damage on the meter will go up. So like it won't feel like you're doing more, but you will have better results, right? Yeah. Because you're not going to see these big crits and stuff like that. And so that's like the rewarding thing in like vanilla is like you get a better weapon, you start Sinister Strike critting for like 1900 and stuff like that. You're like, oh my God. And you scale very well with gear and you see it and you feel it. You're not going to really feel it with rogue. You're going to rupture and it's just going to be another number in the cluster of numbers that are really small. So yeah, I would say play enhancement if you like are wondering if you should play rogue or not. And you don't enjoy PvP.
Yeah. I mean, to jump to another topic, man, you know,
funny. away from the doom and gloom.
It's okay, guys. We'll be good. Rogues will be okay one day. Actually, we'll be fine. We'll get a bit of gear and we'll be okay.
I mean, you guys are literally one of the best classes in PvP. You are pretty much one of the only relevant melee classes in PvP in Arena, right? Warriors are relevant, yes, but like outside of a few comps, rogues are like really relevant in 2s and 3s, like really relevant, and you'll see them at tournaments and stuff. But everything else is going to be ranged like rogue or like priest, warlock, mage, druid. So yeah, that's if you want to play alongside the clothies and be in the club, then you can go ahead. You know, then you can go play rogue.
Yeah. All right. I mean, speaking of PvP, have you seen did you see any of the OTK Cdew stuff?
I did not. What happened with that?
Okay.
Tell me about that.
Okay. So I'll play the clip. I have the clip here. So basically, what happened is Cdew signed with OTK, which, as most people know in the wild space, is Asmongold's and co organization.
And Miskiff,
and Miskiff and all those guys, yeah. And basically, he was made a lot of promises when he was signed by like Rich. Rich basically kind of like pulled the friend card and said, "Hey man, come to our org. You pick us. We'll take care of you for years to come, etc." So you're gonna retire here, and now they're not getting re-signed. So here's the clip. I'll play it first so people can listen to this clip.
I would have to say the person I'm mainly upset with is Rich. I'll never forget him saying, "Listen, this is the org you're gonna be on until you quit playing the game." Not even 1 year later, I'm off the org. Like, well, not off yet, but you know what I'm saying? Like, we got oversold. and we got brought in using the friend card, and we got kicked out using the business card. You know what I mean? It's just... I do take it personal, and it is what it is. I would have...
But yeah, so basically, yeah, they're not getting re-signed. The team's not getting re-signed is what's happening. And he obviously, it seems like he was made some promises or made to choose, or he chose them because of the things that Rich said that made OTK seem like a really great org for the future and such. And now, like, the problem is, like, I don't know when his contract actually expires and such, but like, if it's in the middle of an expansion like this, it's a rough time to try to re-get a new org now in the middle of all of this, after he's already like turned down the other orgs and be like, nah, we're gonna go OTK, and now like OTK is not re-signing him, and it's like his team's in like this awkward spot now, depending on when the contract actually expires. So
I actually, like, I felt like tears coming on that. It was really like that shit fucks with me. Like, when you're made a promise like that as a content creator, and you're like there with your friends and stuff, it's heartbreaking because they're your friends, and you, like he said, I think the thing that hit me the most was, you know, you're brought in under the friend card, and then you're like go under the business card. And Cdew's like a dad, and that shit, like having that type of instability. I know he streams and stuff, but instability in like your career is something that streamers have to put up with all the time, especially when you're a professional. And you have people who are like really, you know, relying on you. So it's that really fucking sucks, and that sounds bad. And I am very curious as to what happened, because OTK does not seem like it's unsuccessful to me. But the problem with OTK, I think right now, is they're just a bunch of streamers, and finding OTK merch brands that benefit everybody is going to be difficult, because I used to be a part of like a streaming house for a bit, and some of the meetings we would have were being under one banner. What's the benefit for everybody when they could work on their individual brands, right? So, for example, why do the Avengers make like Avengers? Does Avengers benefit everybody in the Avengers for the movie franchise, right? More so than just doing a movie with, you know, one of them, right? Where they could work on their individual brand. And then when you have people who may not be as big come in, it's like, well, they benefit more from being in the Avengers than they actually bring to it. So it's a really interesting dynamic, and discussing what's the time benefit of like Asmongold or Sfand or Mizkif spending time on an OTK thing versus a Asmongold Sfand thing, and then bringing that to OTK is like it's an opportunity cost at all times. So finding something that's beneficial for the brand and something that they can sell, like they're doing like an OTK like merch contest, right? Where they're trying to figure out like what's their merch going to look like. And a lot of it is like, I'll watch Sfan stream, and then people will submit things that are like good Sfan things. It's like an Ashbringer with like the OTK fist on it. And it's like, that's a really good like Sfan like merch thing. But if OTK needs something that they can do as an org that people will buy or grab onto, and it's the problem in just esports in general, and even just, you know, collaboration in streamer space, of people care more about individuals than they do the organization. It's the same reason that back in like League of Legends, people cared more about like High and Balls instead of Cloud9. They cared about Cloud9 as a team when it had these players, and then afterwards they were like, okay, I guess I kind of care about Cloud9. The same thing where people like follow like Doublelifter Bjergsen in their career, as opposed to, you know, being a CLG fan forever. There were more people that were like Doublelift fans. Even though those fans do exist, it's much harder to cultivate that. So I actually am curious as how OTK makes money as an organization that they can't make from the individuals, right? So it's very, very difficult to parse that for yourself as an org, and then find out where the profits are coming from that aren't just something an individual could make for themselves. And then the individual also has to go, this is more beneficial for me than like making like $15,000 for the org is better than me spending that time making $10,000 for myself. That's something that all the individuals have to like do as well, right? So that's hard. It's very hard. You need a lot of like good people. So that kind of sucks that really sucks for Cdew. I wonder what's going to happen. And especially talking about it publicly like that, I think a lot of people get backlash for that, because like I personally am somebody who's gotten backlash for talking about those things publicly and being truthful, because that's just who I am. And I feel like when you talk about something like that, other organizations don't see you as like, oh, we're picking up Cdew. It's like, we're picking up somebody that if we screw them over, we'll get a lot of backlash. Right. He's going to talk about it. Yeah. It's one of my friends, this is just a side story. One of my friends actually got fired from his job for, and they said it's because he's gay. He works in Korea, and apparently they had let him go for that, which I don't know if that's like a thing where they're pretty
this is not this is not very progressive here at times.
Yeah, he got let go for being gay, and he had it recorded, and he went to a lawyer and asked him, and his friend said, like, or his lawyer friend said, do you want money out of this? What do you want? And he's like, well, I want my job. And he's like, they're not going to give you your job back. And he's like, do you want to like continue working in esports? He's like, yeah. And they were like, then never show this to anybody. And he's like, why? And it's like, because now even if you win, people won't see you as like the person who, you know, was redeemed, or the person who got fired for being gay. Companies are going to see you as the person who has the potential to bring a tape recorder into a meeting, right? And I was like, damn, like the orgs are going to see you as the person who could potentially bring a tape recorder in a meeting. And I was like, fuck. So he's like, yeah, if your goal is to work again, then like just go get another job, like shake yourself off. And I'm like, that seems pretty unjust, and I hate that shit. But there's a lot of stuff like that where organizations are very different than people, and they will always look out for their best interest to an extreme, right? Like HR is not there to protect the people. HR is there to protect the company from the people. It's pretty insane.
I mean, the whole situation is pretty kind of out there, just because like, yeah, Cdew put it out public, and then like obviously this all went viral on live stream fails and such. And Asmongold even came out and said like he can't really talk about it because all of this is under non-disclosure stuff. So even if he wants to talk about it, he can't really address the details. Apparently they did say they did have a meeting, and then people are maybe okay with it, but again, they're not really speaking further. I don't even know if Cdew is going to speak further about it, because he doesn't want to hurt his career as well. Even if he is frustrated. But is to touch on what like you said earlier, the streaming, it's already like, it's a super stressful job for like a lot of these people. Like Cdew is probably one of the most subbed people in the WoW space, and even he doesn't have like a crazy streamer lifestyle compared to like what people think of the big streamers. In the WoW space, it's very, very small. Like the big guys are like right now, Cdew's got that like 3,000k sub mark, and then I think you got like Payo, who's around 5k, and then you have to remember that Twitch takes half of that, by the way, guys. For most people, unless you're a big time streamer, Twitch is taking half of that away. So I always have to remind people, like, man, like you guys see, like even like the really popular WoW streamers, they have 1,000 subs. Those guys are making what, like $3,000 a month or something like that, because Twitch is taking half of it. So
Twitch takes half of it, and then none of the you don't take anything out on taxes immediately. Yeah. So if you have 1,000 subs, you're making it. So if you have 1,000 subs, you're typically only getting half of that. You're not getting the $3.50 per sub until you're larger. The way to get that is like you talk
like
to your
10K
channel
person.
management. The way that I heard that you get it is you have to have 1,000 non-prime, non-gifted subs for 3 months, and then talk to your channel manager. And getting 1,000 non-gifted, non-prime subs.
And
back in the day, I don't know if there's a way to track how many gifted and primes you have.
There is now. Yeah, there is now.
Okay, there's now. Dashboard. Back in the day when I was told this, I was like, there's literally no way to track this. Like, you guys have the stat. I have no way of tracking this. Like, my dashboard would tell me like a number of like total subs, and then like my number of like primes, but it wouldn't tell me my number of gifted. So I had to I couldn't figure that out. But yeah, you need 1,000 non-prime, non-gifted subs for 3 months in a row, and then they'll offer you the $3.50 for every $5. And that takes a lot. That usually is like a 3,000, 4,000 streamer, because a lot of gifted subs are.
Yeah, a lot of these subs are just gifted and primes and things like that. It's I mean, I've been over 1,000 subs as well, but like a lot of them were just gifted subs.
Oh yeah, you have somebody come in 1 month and they just drop 100, and somebody else will drop 100. It's your birthday or whatever. All that stuff happens. So yeah, it's very difficult, and you're probably making like $2,500 a month before taxes, like before anything. Because a lot of times people you get your paycheck with like some taxes taken out just to be held. for withholding. And so like somebody who's got 1,000 subs is only making like 30K a year before taxes, just off of subs. So
it's really not much. That's why, like, I always tell people, man, you want to get into the WoW space, you got to diversify, you got to do other stuff. Like, that's why people on my stream see, like, I have the Patreon now, which, by the way, thank you guys for supporting a Patreon. Game changer, honestly, game changer having a Patreon and not worrying about the Twitch subs. Because heads up, Patreon doesn't take half of your money; they only take a small cut, which is really nice.
So, somebody told me this the other day, where they were like, somebody told me they were like, "Oh, do you have a Patreon?" And I was like, "For my titties?" Like, I was like, "No, what?" They were like, "Oh, I prefer to like give people money through Patreon as opposed to donating or subbing." And I was like, "Oh, why?" And they're like, "Because Twitch takes so much of it; it's much more effective to like even give a donation, but to give like a consistent donation." Like every month on Twitch, it's like sometimes I just don't remember. It's better to go through Patreon. I was like, wow, because Patreon for me, I was always like, that's the thing that like Sneaky makes money off of, right? Or like, or like all these people who do cosplay, and then OnlyFans became a thing, and OnlyFans became like the new Patreon. And so Patreon, I was kind of like, I don't know, I
will say, as someone that's
see the appeal, but
as someone that's grown very fast on Patreon, it's definitely not something that I think every streamer can do. You have to provide a lot of stuff for the Patreon to work, because people don't like going off the site. Like, the reason people get subs on Twitch is because it's easy, people understand Twitch. Like, to get someone to go from Twitch to Patreon and then sub, very hard. Very, very hard. You get a very low conversion rate there. So you have to do
same thing with Twitter. People don't click your Twitch link on Twitter because they don't want to go off of Twitter. You know, going across is very, very difficult. So no.
I mean, to go back to the Cdew stuff and the whole OTK thing, it's weird because I can understand both sides, but it's kind of rough the way they did. I don't like the way that OTK is doing it, but I don't know if they're solving it now because they're not saying anything and they can't say anything. But like, obviously, from a business perspective, I understand that the WoW isn't like the big money maker, especially competitive WoW. That's a horrible space to be getting into as an org. Like, if we're talking just from a financial standpoint, I 100% understand why OTK wouldn't want to re-sign them.
It's a loss.
Yeah, it's just that you're just throwing money away. WoW isn't like a great, WoW isn't a great streaming segment anyway. And I always tell people, like, WoW is like one of those games that everyone plays, but as far as like a watching perspective and an entertaining perspective, it's not one of the great entertainment games.
But like, just think about it from a perspective of like a sponsor. How does a sponsor make money when they sponsor a team, right? What they have to do is it's advertising space, right? That's all you're getting is advertising space. When you go to like watch and you're like, oh, this is Cdew's team competing, the prize money may be divided. Like, maybe the org gets a little bit of the prize money, but prize money is very minuscule and there's not enough tournaments, etc. They basically try to make their money up from advertising. From like, this is OTK, they're building a brand. And that has to convert some way. It's kind of like how I talked about, like, when Riot was doing LCS, it's like, well, how are they making money off LCS when they don't sell anything, right? Why do sponsors want to buy in? It's a black hole of money. They have no idea like where things are going. So yeah, it's really hard to track the money and be like, how much am I making off of this? It's basically impossible to figure out how much money you're making off of sponsoring a team. Right, you know how much you're losing, but you don't know where you're making that back up. So if you like T-shirt sales or whatever the hell else you have, that might be that. But otherwise, it's hard.
I almost feel like because here's the thing with OTK is that they're making that Miskiv's show that he does that school thing.
I love streamers,
which is it's by the way amazing choice to do game shows and things, because Miskiv is just his personality fits perfectly with that, and then like the entire segment and the idea behind it is just amazing as well. But he's getting what, like 200.
Sorry, random aside. Did you see the episode where Johnny Sins came on as a substitute teacher? Not that you would know who that is.
Oh no, not that I don't know who that is yet, but yes, I did.
Oh, so it's so funny.
It's great. Yeah, I love Schooled, but yeah, he's getting what 200,000 viewers on Schooled and such. So like, I totally understand from the perspective of like, well, we could just spend our time as an org on making more of these Schooled type shows, versus like sponsoring some classic WoW team or WoW TBC team that barely gets any views at the tournaments and we're definitely not making a return there. But what I would have really liked to have seen is that because the org, I don't think the org is hurting. It seems like the org seems to be profitable. I can't tell because it's really hard to tell with orgs, but it seems they're doing okay. I feel like it would have been nice as to Cdew at least on the whole friendship thing, because they said they said when they formed the org that it was based on friendships and things like that in the community, that at least they could try to take care of him for the next like couple years. And there has to be, I feel like there has to be a way for them to turn it into a marketing opportunity where you can say, okay, we'll try to take care of Cdew's team and make sure he gets set up in another org, like a year or 2 years down the line, and use this opportunity as like saying like, okay, there's going to be a loss, but we're going to write off the cost it takes to take care of them as maybe like a marketing opportunity for like OTK to try to spin it around that way. But I don't know if there's a way to do it. Like it's hard because it's such a loss. It's such a loss. Like honestly, WoW is such a loss. Like I can understand why they don't want to do WoW stuff because like we've been saying, WoW is not a great streamer game, and it's like someone in chat said, is like there's a lot of streamers that play WoW but will never stream WoW because as soon as they turn WoW on, like the viewership just disappears. I know Jake and Bake plays WoW as well because he plays Rogue. He's using my UI at the time right now, and like he got hosted by Miskiff the other day. And he was like, Miskiff, why are you hosting me now when I'm playing WoW? Like, these guys are just going to leave. They don't want to watch WoW. Host me later when I'm doing IRL. So it's like, I totally understand.
He's right, though.
I totally understand the business perspective. But I'm just wondering if there's a way they could have taken care of Cdew. Because it kind of sucks, like the situations that he's in.
Yeah, but when it comes to business, you have to put friendship aside. If it's not good for the business, because the business, you're worrying about other people. Like, if the business is going to have to like cover up for something Rich said or made somebody angry, like, is it in their best interest to do that? It's really hard because if you're worrying about one person, you're potentially fucking over other people. Because what if it's like the company doesn't have as much money? Like, because you have to ultimately think about the company because the company is supporting multiple people instead of just one person, right? And so that's the hard part is you have to do what's good for the company. It's like, it's shitty. It's business. I don't really like that shit, but you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, it just seems like an unfortunate situation all around. But I guess we'll see what happens. But I don't even know if we'll ever find out what really happens because it's all under non-disclosures and things. I think like the next thing we'll hear is like whenever he does sign with another team.
Yeah, you never know. Sometimes they don't talk about it. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they can't talk about it.
What do we have left on our topic list? Was it? Oh God. Is it time for everyone's favorite segment? Zyrene snuck this in here at the start, by the way. This wasn't on me. Zyrene snuck this in here. Magtheridon speed clear. Speed clear. Zyrene is bringing back the ever popular speedrunning segment for TBC. I don't know if you included it at the start here when you edited. I'm talking, about like before you did the intro and everything. I don't know if you included that or will be including that. I recorded it anyway, just in case I wanted to include any of that.
Yeah. So yeah, basically, Salad Bakers did a 4-minute Magtheridon. They re-rolled hordes because it's the better PvE faction, and they're taking it very seriously. But they did some interesting things. They used a warrior main tank. They used 2 feral off tanks, and both the ferals wore like hybrid gear. And they did tanking at the start, and then they swapped to DPSing, which is something that I've talked about before because I think they're the best tanks that DPS, right? Because they don't really waste any talents in by going tank. You get all the cat talents except for like one section that you don't even really use. So yeah, having a 2 feral off tanks that swapped to being cat during Magtheridon, they did 1,000 DPS each, so very, very high for something that's tanking. And their main tank, a warrior, actually swapped to being Fury. So he's a Fury warrior who has like Defiance, but he's using Bloodthirst, right? So he's not dual wielding either. So get that out of your heads. It's not Fury Prot, but it's not Fury Prot in the same way. But it is a Fury spec that is bot tanking. but it's all coming down to the gear because they don't like Shield Slam and Bloodthirst, basically the same damage. Then Devastate does nothing when Imp Expose is on, and they have a rogue for Imp Expose because they have so many hunters. So they're basically using a Fury tank who's got some crit, and it ended up being, in my opinion, like a really good change, like a really good idea to do it this way. So I don't know if this is going to become meta, but I personally think that you're going to end up with something like a Paladin later on doing this, but I don't think the gear completely supports it at the moment. So yeah, the speed clear, lots of hunters, some warlocks, because hunters are better single target damage. So they're bringing warlocks for the fears, for the control during the first phase and the debuff. But you can see they have one mage, they have one rogue, they have one paladin who I think is Ret, or at least Ret spec. I think he might do a little bit of the tanking at the start. I'm not sure, but I think he's just Ret and there to give a second blessing. And I think I may have said this on the podcast at some point, where you might just bring 2 paladins, because if your tank is good, you need salve, so you don't care about salve. So you just bring 2 paladins, because one holy and one prot. But here they brought a Ret one, which I actually thought was really interesting, because I think maybe prot's like a DPS loss, but I think eventually you might be able to change this prot over, or this Ret over to a prot and have him main tank, and then go from there and not have a Ret paladin, and not have a prot warrior either, and just use a prot paladin and 2 ferals, or 2 prots in a feral. So I don't know what speed clearing is going to be like when you have a full instance to clear, but here you're just stacking single target damage, right? But I think that this is kind of indicative of, if they think this is the fastest way to kill a boss, in later phases you might be replacing these warlocks with warriors for like trash damage, right? Because we're already seeing warriors do a lot of damage, and warriors will help the hunters do damage on trash in the future. So it's just super interesting to me that people are already like doing this and trying to kind of get the speedrun community jump started already in TBC, which I'm excited about, because my guild right now, we're kind of just for lack of a better phrase, we're kind of just jerking off. Like people aren't doing anything. It's like, oh, these are our splits, let's get gear. Like, but
yeah, I was actually honestly surprised to see this, because like you're saying, it's early on, because a lot of people just don't care that much about like that phase 1 speedrunning, because it's kind of like whatever, there's this phase
but
1.
I think it's good to start thinking about like the hard pills to swallow, because like even for me, my I'm in like quote unquote raid 2 right now, because they need somebody to tank for them, right? And I'm sitting there going like, okay, there aren't a lot of prot warrior spots, and the GM re-rolled prot warrior, and I'm like, and he has a hunter too, so he's like in raid 1 and 2. He's in raid 2 on his hunter, and he's main tanking raid 1. And I'm kind of like, so are they like slowly transitioning me out, and he's not going to play his hunter? And I need, because I need to have this conversation with them and be like, is there upward mobility for me, or am I stuck in this quote unquote raid 2 because the GM is the prot warrior? Because bad experience having the GM play the same role as you. GM will typically get his role. So I'm like, do I need to re-roll? Do I need to start working on another character? Because this is the phase to have those conversations and be like, what's the future look like? What should I prepare? Should I actually roll a paladin, or is there somebody that we already like have like ready to play that? So yeah, now's the time to start doing that and thinking about that stuff. Because if you do it later, it's just going to sneak up on you. So yeah, that's what's going on right now with like those things, at least on my end. And I'm sure people are having a similar experience. So yeah, the Speed Magtheridon. I think they also did Gruul. I'm not sure. I didn't check that.
Yeah, they did Gruul as well, I think. But I'm trying to find when they start. Okay, let me see.
Oh, it'll be like a few minutes in, right? They're doing their preparations.
Okay, I think it starts soon.
Yeah, they only use 4 healers.
Yeah. So 4 healers,
yeah.
Huh?
Only 4 healers. Yep. So like, I was thinking people were going to use like, something like 7 healers, 6 healers. I think even bad guilds are using only 6 right now, but 4 healers, if you can get away with 4, then that's crazy. Because you think about how like, fucking Noobs is only using like 9 healers in like the end of Nax, right? When people were using 12 or 10. So it's the less healers you can bring, the better, I guess. So it's going to be interesting seeing how people adjust their compositions, and also bringing tanks that double as DPS. is going to be really interesting because this guy's wearing hybrid gear and he's tanking 2 mobs, and these mobs don't hit like nothing at the moment. They don't hit for little amounts.
Yeah, that's one of the things my guild struggled on, or one of my NA guilds at least struggled on early on was man, like the mobs hurt. The early raiding hurts because your tanks just aren't as geared as they could be.
Oh yeah, they're big. Oh.
But yeah, it's interesting to see where the speedrunning community goes from this, because it is very early. I know like a lot of people
boss
still
kills are,
it's like no one really cares about them right now, but it's interesting that Salad Bakers is trying to kind of jumpstart it, as you said. Oh, I mean, that's interesting. I look forward to seeing where it goes, because like you said before, the TBC speedrunning community isn't really like, the stuff isn't fleshed out. We don't have like the set strategies and such coming in from private servers quite as much as we do. Oh, and we have an ad.
Yeah, and also you need to like kind of consider when like people are always saying stuff like, oh, you bring at least one of every class. Like they're already like ignoring synergies, and they're already ignoring those types of things, right?
Yeah.
Like they don't have like a disciplined priest for improved improved like divine spirit. They don't have a resto druid, to my knowledge. I think they just have 2 ferals. I don't think they have any more. I think they used a holy paladin, a holy priest, and 2 resto shamans, I think, were their healers. So they're already like getting rid of synergies, right?
Yeah. Whoa, someone in chat says the 7 hunters is the 7 hunter synergy. It's the 7 hunters synergy.
I mean, I was talking about stacking like debuffs for classes, right? And you might even be like, if somebody wants to speed this up, do they just remove the 3 warlocks and replace them with 3 more hunters and remove the shadow priest because then they don't need the debuff? Like, I don't know. Maybe if you want to have like a really fast kill time, do you just add more hunters and remove warlocks? I don't know, right? Or do you just remove all the hunters and put warlocks in? I don't know, right? It's going to be interesting to see. And also, if people care about speeds, you start rotating heroisms, right? So like, or bloodlusts.
Yeah, bloodlusts.
So maybe you bring more shamans than you would need, and you start rotating the resto ones out. Because if people care about just the clear time, they don't care about which group is getting it. Because like for individual parsing, like I said, where it's going to be really toxic, where it's like this person got 3 heroisms, this person got like 0, or this person got 1. That's going to be like a big difference in your parse. But in speed clears, obviously you're going to give your hunter group the heroism like multiple times, right, to try and clear stuff. So that's I think is going to be very prevalent.
Well, I mean, that was interesting to see. But I think that's all the topics I got. You got anything else?
No, rogues are bad.
All right,
that's the name of the podcast.
Is that the title for this week? Rogues are bad.
Yeah, okay. Rogues are bad.
Guys, it's not me. Cyrene was the one that picked us.
Then like an asterisk next to it, and like it's like so are prot warriors.
All right, guys. So this has been episode 15. We will see you guys next week for the prepared. See you guys later.
Hell yeah! All right, see ya.